All right, folks. Good morning. Let's get started. It's 9:08, 9:09. I'd like to start the class at 9 o'clock. Remember, you're quality assurance people, and you represent the quality of the product that's coming out. So your being on time is very crucial. You have to be perfect in everything because your job is to find fault in software, and not only that, just overall company. You are the model for their good work and whatever is coming out the assembly line. So um, always keep that in mind. I wasn't able to do last weekend because I was out of town, and I understand Enrico did the classes with you. Yes, I have recorded the installation video and uploaded that. So did you watch it? And were you successful in installing? Anybody has any issues with installation? Okay, so all good? All right. My name is Stein, in short for Celestine. I was born in Bangladesh, and I was born in a Christian family, so that's how I got this name actually. Been in the US for 20 years. I was a math teacher at Irving High School and also did some special education teaching. Um, last year, was it last year or a year before? I can't remember. I think last year. Yeah, still last year. Somebody told me about this program, and I was getting burned out teaching for schools and kids. I also did principal certification. I applied for assistant principal job many places, but these days there's so many people have that certification. It's not easy to find one, and you have to go through more channels, smaller channels, like you have to be dean of schools, which you would make the same money as a teacher. You have to be administrative liaison for a few years, still making the same amount of money as a teacher. And then you become an assistant principal. So it was like a long wait. I didn't want to apply for dean of school because I was like, do I want to wait 5 years to become an assistant principal and then make that money? How much do they make? $80,000 starting salary. Now, if you're the main principal of a school, 100,000, 125,000 if you're a high school. It's too much way down there. So kind of disappointed with all the school that I had to do, master's degree, all the trainings and exams to get certified. But luckily, Tech Fios came in right at the moment, and I came in. I just wanted to see the orientation. It was okay. I thought, let me give it a try.
Which year
So
was that?
that was last year, right? That was last year.
No, couple years ago.
2 years ago?
Mine was late for last year.
I was like two batches before you.
Yeah.
So probably still last year.
No, it was my last year. Your last year was 3 years ago.
Okay. So maybe a year and a half time went by. Wow. Yeah, time I guess went by. So yeah, so I joined in month of February. I attended classes, some on and off because I was doing the principal certification at the time. So I had to skip a few things to study there. And over that summer, I finished the certification, applied for jobs. I didn't get any. I also happened to skip out of this class. Halfway in the Selenium class, I had to skip out because I had to study for the certification. And I gave it my best till August, end of August, when school started again and hiring stops there for school industry. And I put that chapter aside, and then I decided to come back full force into the automation testing. Now I have skipped out of classes, so I don't know how to automate stuff. So I had to come back here. take a few days off, watch Enrico's video. Enrico was the teacher at the time. So I would be in this classroom sitting down, watching his video, watching some other videos that I needed more answers to, because these classes not enough to answer everything that you should have learned in 7 years, because that's the type of experience that we're going to show. We're going to get you into that senior level, mid to senior level. You'll be making good money. We're doing basically the same thing that an entry level would be doing. So anyway, about that, I studied 2 weeks and I tried to fill in the blanks as much as I could. And honestly, not enough. I know it wasn't enough. But I wanted to jump in and try it out. And also these guys, the Tech Files teachers were like, no, you should go in the market. You should go in the market. So I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. Went in the market, I think about a week and a half, and I got a job. I think I did about 7 interviews. Face to face was like 2 interviews. Okay. I like to call myself lucky, but at the same time, if you look at the demand, how much the market needs qualified people versus how many candidates are out there, there's a higher demand for the supply available. So even if they find you not 100% qualified, they will want to hire you and train you and get you set up because they can't find anybody. After I got hired, they told me that they've been looking for a candidate for 3 months. 3 months. And my supervisor, he told me that he interviewed so many people. And he told me straightforward too that I have interviewed people that knew more than you. But I hired you because I felt like I could work with you. So there's a lot about your personality, how you present yourself, how you talk, and how you present your information. All of that also matters. That's where your interview skills come in play. Adnan will work with you on that after you're done with Selenium classes. So you'll have some time for that as well. So when you put all those things together, even if you're not 100%, you're going to be successful. You don't have to be 100%. Okay? So here I am. I got the job. I did for 6 months, and Tech Files asked me to come back as a teacher. Mainly, I was in a really good situation because everything they taught me here, I was applying. Often what happens is you learn something, you go in there, and some things are different from what you learned here. And they will be training you for that and then get you to that level. But just about all the technology that I was learning here, with exception to few, was being applied where I got the job. So that makes me a good candidate to come back and start teaching in this particular field, in that tools that we are actually teaching. So here I am. This is my 3rd session. Before you, I had 2 sessions, 2 seasons. So let's get started. I wish I had more time to know you, but that's what I do with my first class. Enrico already had that. I have a packed full of information. I have to get this done in 12, maximum 13 classes. 13 classes is not enough for all this information, okay? You'll probably find me talking 4 hours, 5 hours straight because there's so much. Often I'm going to try to go really fast. You watch the videos at home, review it, take notes, and practice. If I let you follow me while I'm doing this, that's going to slow the whole class down. And what we have noticed that sometimes you'll have issues with your setup or simple things like spelling mistake that you have not looked carefully, and that can slow everybody else down. If I try to troubleshoot that in class, that's I won't be able to make it. I won't be able to cover the materials I have. Okay. So I'm going to go through all the materials, provide you with all the notes. You don't even have to take any notes. You just have to focus, understand, and ask questions. And I will ask you questions to see if you're paying attention and if you can remember. Also, just to spark your thought process, not just to catch you to see, hey, if you remember or paying attention, but also to see, to kind of ignite your thoughts. Maybe interview type questions also to get you ready for the interview. Okay. Are you familiar with this website? autotechnoweebly.com, something, whatever. I put together this website so that I can have all the notes in here and information, kind of give you an overview of what we're looking at. It's still under construction. It's not great. I try to filter a lot of information to put it in here because there's so much to read. You don't have that time. So just focus here. Each of these is broken down in 2 sessions. The installation part was covered in the prerequisites. You have Java 8 in your system right now. You probably downloaded Maven, yes? And you have Eclipse. You have Chrome driver installed. You probably have a GitHub account AP did for you. You may need a few other things that's in here, which will come later. But for now, if you have this much, you're good to go, ready to start. I want to brush up a little bit here just to make sure that Enrico covered everything and then move on to the session for today. We're going to take a few breaks in between. Let me know if I'm not covering something. So did Enrico go over how to create a Maven project? Dependencies, are you clear with that? Okay. I think that's pretty much it. And in my installation video, I showed you how to set up the properties for a Chrome driver, how to locate the Chrome driver and even launch a website with the get method, and it worked in your device. Yes? Good. That's pretty much session 1. Session 2 goes into finding elements in more deeper level. Did he go over CSS selector?
Because XPath.
He talked about XPath?
XPath, yeah.
Okay, absolute and relative XPath?
Yeah.
But not CSS?
Very briefly.
Yeah.
Very briefly? Okay. Absolute and relative XPath. How comfortable are you with that? Very important. 20%? Okay. That's not a problem. Did he go over text method in the XPath? Or how to use contains?
Contains, yeah. They use the content.
Okay. What does the star represent inside the XPath? Did he show that? What about and or? How to use and or? Okay. Did he go over wait?
Little bit, but we are not comfortable with that.
Okay. Implicit wait, explicit wait?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you all get that?
He showed all of them.
Okay. Okay. Probably need a little more practice. Okay. Fluent wait. Did he talk about that?
He did, but
Okay. All right. No worries, because all of this will be repeated in following sessions. And and it will make clear to you, so no worries for that. Did he do any test case for you?
Yes, we can
What kind of test case did you do?
check file.
Log in and
Fill up.
Yeah.
Market routes.
also marker choose.
But I don't know. I did that, but it doesn't run. First one. I did, and it is wrong.
So he went to this website
Yeah.
and he took you in. What else? How far? Open CRM,
Add contact.
add contact,
Uh-huh.
and fill in this, submit. And did he show you how to validate whether the data appeared or not? Okay, so that's good. So you know how to log in. Click on these buttons so far and send keys information into these fields and click submit, but you don't know how to validate whether the submit worked or not. Yes? Okay. All right. With that, let's get started. So today, what I have for you is I'm going to go over XPath axes. I'm also going to brush up on the XPath and CSS that Enrico briefly covered. We're going to talk about explicit wait. If we have time, I'll show you how to use something called select class. What is assertion and try catch? Now, it's a long shot. There's a lot in here. May not be able to cover. If not, we'll do it tomorrow. Okay. So let's start up with opening the Eclipse, and you all watch. While I do this. Let's go ahead and use that same test case that you have for this particular test case. Let's look at it first, what it is. You as an automation engineer, you need to understand manual tests and automation. Your question for every single pages is, what can the user do? If you can answer that question, then you already have your test cases. What can the user do in this page? Yes. So the user can fill out this information. In a higher level, user can add a contact. How? Filling out this information. If you scan the rest of the page, can user do anything else? Nothing else. Okay, this is it. But there could be other things. There could be another box right here. That will become another test case. Make sense? So if you ask yourself the question, what can the user do? The multiple things that the user can do, each of those things will become a test case for you to automate. Since we only have one thing, you want to mute that? The user can only do add contact, so that's the only test case that will be applied to this page. That's it. This is not a real website. This is just for you to play around with. You can use any real website. Do what we're doing right now. You could be automating from your home, Priceline.com. Open up an account. You could do all of that, but we're not going to mess around with that website right now. Okay? We're just going to mess around with this website. But you can do that if you want to. Totally works. So let's just put in some information. I want to hit a submit and see what happens. You need to know all the steps and where does the data go? how do I validate whether it appeared or not? So I don't remember. So I'm just gonna type in, I don't know, John Doe 123. I probably used up John Doe too many times. Company, tech files, email john123 at yahoo.com. Phone number. Maybe not all of these information is needed. 0. I'm gonna leave this out and hit submit and see if this works. Account already exists, so that means I probably used up that name as well. Okay, Jane Automation Testing 1 2 3 4 5 6. Let's see if that works. Submit. Email already exists. Come on. So those are required fields, I guess. Bless you. Testing 1 2 3. Success. So if it's a success, it's gonna give me this page. It's gonna have this information, so we could validate that. You can go crazy with validation, but don't. You don't need to go so fancy with Java. Just because we know Java and we want to apply it, and oh my God, this is so fancy coding, don't do that. It's actually bad. Too much code is bad. Because if you have too much code, your chances of your test failure is higher. If you have simpler codes, simpler methods, you can debug easily. Not just for yourself, but when you don't work for a company, someone else will be taking over your spot. And they're going to be maintaining the code that you wrote. They won't understand your code if they're too fancy, too complicated. So we want to keep things simple. If I can just validate one thing from here, whether this email showed up or what else, this is his name. If the name showed up, I'm done. I don't need to validate anything else. You can, but if something goes bad here, your test is going to fail. You have to maintain that test. If they add a separate box right here, let's say you wanted to validate this this number, for example. If this number does not appear here anymore, your test case is going to fail. Somebody has to go in, spend a day to maintain that code to fix that. So simple is best, okay? Of course, I can test this part and check to see if this page appeared and if this name appeared. That's 1. 2, here's a list contact. If you add a contact, it goes into this list. Then the user can click on this list and check whether this appeared in this list or not. All right? So 2 types of validation that you can do. 1, if you come all the way up here and you got that page is never going to be shown to me anymore. I lost it because I went out of it. You only get one shot on that page. You can validate that, or you can come to this page and say validate this, or you could do both. Both might be too much, again, for that sake that you don't want your test case to fail. Okay? If you validate just this page right here, you are actually covering everything. Meaning whether that page showed up or not doesn't really matter that much. If your name showed up here, hey, it's in the database. Okay? So always go for the final thing. Things in between, don't worry about it too much. If you need to test a room way down the hall over there, you can just kind of go through this hallway and peek into every room. You don't have to enter the room. You can just open the door and check all the other doors while you're doing that, and then you go check the last one. If you try to go into every one of these rooms, you might get stuck and not be able to finish your work, right? So always keep that in mind. Therefore, we're just going to validate this piece, okay? We're not going to check the other piece for now. Let me see if I can get to you to this level today, because this test case, if you were to do it in your workplace, you could take a day for this test case. You could take a day. You could take more than a day if you don't have classes set up. A lot of these files not set up. Yeah, but if a lot of the classes methods are done for you, you just have to call the methods to do it, then still people take a day. Honestly, if you're good, you can do it in a few hours and take the rest of the day chill. That's what people do. So, but it's going to be tough for me because I'm going to do this test case plus teach you. So I'm going to have to talk, go back and forth on stuff with the material. So bear with me here, okay? All right. So now we have the plan, what we want to do. Let's get started. You're going to have a written test case. Either they gave it to you or you do it for yourself. You have to have a design in your mind before you execute. So this is not the best way to do this. You write down steps, okay? Scenario. Scenario, or same thing as, you can call it test case. Okay. What is the test case? Test case summary. What are we testing? And you don't have to write this. I'll copy this and put it on the website for you. Okay. Just talk to me. What is this test case about? Yeah. You can say validate. You can use that word, or you could say user should be able to add content. Your test cases are like a manual for the website. If you design it right, somebody could just come in and read through your test cases and say, oh, this is wonderful manual. It tells me what it does. Okay? All these functionalities, features should be covered under all of the test cases you have. You must have all test cases to cover all those features. So this one, user should be able to add content. Now, how? What are we going to do? Step 1, step 2, and 3. I'm just going to write 1 for now. You have seen in your manual test case classes how to put step 1 and then precondition, postcondition, and so forth. I'm not going to spend time on that. Okay? That doesn't mean it's not going to be on the interview. They will ask you, how does the test case look like? What is the precondition? Okay? So you need to know that. But for our sake, we're just doing a design. We are fast and dirty. Okay? So step 1, it has to be an user, right? So go to, maybe break it down for the computer. Think with your computer mind. What type of methods you're going to need step by step. What are you going to tell the computer to do? You can't tell the computer to do too many things all at once. It can only do one thing at a time. Yeah. So it first needs to, maybe, if you even want to go deeper, even go back, open the browser. Yeah, you could even say, move the mouse, click on the click on the Eclipse. You don't have to do all that, but just for you to understand. So open the browser. All right. 2. What? Go to the site. Hey, words doesn't matter. Just convey your thoughts to me, okay? Each time I write this, it comes out different, but means the same thing. That's all that matters, right? If I went to the site, then what? Yeah, so maybe I need to say go to take file site. Okay. Type username and password. Okay. If you want to say and submit on that same one, that's fine. Okay. Getting your minds together, putting together what are the steps before you actually start coding. Because if you go start coding, you might halfway get lost. So you take one piece by piece at a time. Next, what? Poor girl, she lost her voice, but still really on. You guys are like, what's going on with you? Speak out, guys. You didn't lose your voice yet. I will at the end of the class today. So we type the username and hit submit. Now we're on dashboard page, right? So we're on this page. Then we're gonna click on. Okay. So maybe open CRM. Didn't say click on yet. Open is fine too. Then click on add contact. Okay. 6. After I clicked on add contact, what? Yeah. Fill the, yes, form should be displayed. That's a good validation. May not get to that today because we won't be able to cover. I won't be able to finish it, but that's a good one. Fill out the form. Okay, can you all see clear?
Yeah.
Okay. 7, we'll fill out the form and submit maybe. Wrap it up in one. But you understand that this might be a monumental task. One by one, adding the information. So this could be big by itself. After we did that, then what we're gonna do? We said that we're gonna go to list contacts. So click on list contact. Okay. After we clicked on list contact, we said what we're gonna do. Verify that contact added appeared displayed any. Okay. Any questions so far here? This is our game plan. We're gonna go and execute this. Okay. And along the way, I'm gonna teach you all that XPath and stuff. So let's do that. We'll keep this aside and go in here. This is what I got you started with. Do you remember? This is the same thing that I recorded the video on. And I re-imaged this computer before I did that. Keep your computer fluid. If you have some information, pictures, you want to store it somewhere else, because you may have to re-image it a few times. Every now and then, there will be some glitch in your system that some plugins may not work down the road. In that case, I may not be able to debug and fix. You may have to re-image the whole thing, download Java 8, all of those installations all over again. It's a good thing, because more you do it, better you're going to get it. Okay? You should be able to be as fluid as you can pick up a laptop from anywhere. This is a used one, $350. Okay? I've re-imaged the whole thing, and then have been using it for a couple of years now. So you don't have to get a super fancy, expensive computer. But if you know it, how to do it, just get it, clean it up, get it ready, all brand new again. Okay. So, and also when you go work for somebody, when you get that job, they may give you a laptop with Java 8 not installed. And they may ask you to install all that. And they will expect you to know all that. You can't panic at that time saying, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Then it's like give away that you don't have that many years of experience. Okay, so these are very basic things. So if down the road you may have to do it a couple of times, that's actually a positive thing. Okay. Now I will just start working from here. You all have this. I assume you have this project in here, and you have these folders created, correct? Okay. So, and you have the basic idea of how Eclipse works because you have done the Java class, correct? So I don't want to spend time on that either. Just briefly going over, this is where you started with your dependencies. This pom.xml, project object model.xml file, is the blueprint or control center of your project. You have designed some controls in here that you don't understand how completely what it's doing. You don't need to. And it will come to you slowly. These dependencies do the magic. It updates all those files for you that you need. As you need more, you're going to add more to it, which I will also show you. You can actually do a lot more things in here to control how your automation takes place. Out of the scope of this class, that you are going to learn in your experience level. When you go work for companies, you will see they're going to give you a project and you dig into the project and you learn from it. In here, there are some files you don't have to worry about, like source, target, these folders you don't have to worry about. These are systems folder. They have codes in here, objects that you're going to be calling and using. Yeah. This target folder is a folder. It's also in your computer, C drive. While the automation is running, it's storing all that information there, and then it deletes and cleans out when it's done. Still don't have to worry about it. Your daily work is going to be in top 2 folders, and that's why they're on the top, because that's where you're going to be. We are initially going to work right here, but a couple of weeks from now, I will show you how to organize these folders, these two, and put things in different places. Right now, we're going to do everything in one page. And this is called linear scripting. You are just scripting away, writing line by line, everything all in one page. Bad thing is, you can't reuse it. You have to write everything all over again for a second test case. Okay, so this is a linear scripting framework that we have right now. More about the framework will come later. Just kind of touching base a little. You have done this one, Google test. Okay. Typically, in your framework, automation framework, you will have a package called test. In that package, you will have all your test cases stored. You can have multiple test cases in one test class, or you can have one test case in one test class. Ideally, the way the industry does, industry will have a test class for every single page. File new class, you know how to do that already. And in here, dashboard page, they're gonna call it dashboard test. We don't need public static void main. Did Enrico explain that? Why? Okay. Instead of public static void main, we're going to use something called JUnit. JUnit has a benefit of not only running your method, even though it's not a main method, it's going to run it, and also it's going to give you a beautiful report on it, which without JUnit we can't. That's why we're not going to use this, because this will just give us a console something information, but it won't give us the green bar and tell us why it failed. All of that stuff is going to get missed out. So don't use that. Just say finish and not worry about it right now. And then you'll get this class. So just like we got a dashboard test class, if there's any test related to dashboard, that's going to be in this class. Make sense? Let's go back to our project. We are doing add contact. And add contact is in what page? Contacts page, or add contact page. You can call this add contact page. Let me back up a little. About the website. These are called navigation. Sometimes they are on the top. This is called top banner. Sometimes they are on the side. Do you need the light? Okay. In short, they are side nav. Okay. If they're on the top, you call it top banner. So we got this side nav. Side nav tells you all the pages that are there. So every single page, you open the side navs. These are called modules. The overarching menu item that stores the individual pages are called modules and pages. You got a module, page, page, module, page, page, page. Got it? Okay. So my test case needs to be on a page called add contacts. And so in the industry, you need, since our test case involves adding contact, we need a test class for that particular page. So what do you think the name would be of the class? Add contact, not page. Page will come later. I'll talk about more there. Just test, because you're housing the test there. Okay. Name of the classes, you can have Pascal case. Pascal case is where you have capital for the first letter of each word. Now we hit OK or finish, and we have this class, and it opens up for you. You don't need this. You can close it out. Don't have too many things open here that can interfere with your test run. Now, this is the body. Go inside the body and have your test case method written inside the body. Okay? First thing you have to do is public void. AP taught you what are these words? Yes? Okay. I don't want to go deep into it, but whenever I need to change some things, I might talk about it. But for now, you get it. Public void. Now you have to do what? Give it a name of the method. Name of the method has to be same as name of your test case. What was our test case? User should be able to add contact. It becomes pretty big, right? If you want to shorten it out, you could just say, that's fine. We'll just say user should be able to add contact. Okay. More specific and just more meaningful. This one has to be camel case. Camel case starts with lowercase. User, now you say capital. Should be able to add contact. No brainer, don't spend time on this. Just follow the rules. These are Java rules. Okay. When you have a method, go ahead immediately put open parenthesis, close parenthesis, open curly braces, close curly braces. Go one step back, hit a couple of enters, give yourself some space. Okay? Questions so far? All right. I am going to copy this unless you need me to explain this part. Why do we have the system.set property from the installation video? And also Enrico did. Raise your hand if you need me to explain these. Or what about this line? Online folks, also feel free to speak up. Okay, if you need me to go over something, do that. Are you okay up to this part if I copy? Yes, ma'am.
Can you?
Sure. Yes. All right. Get rid of dashboard. We'll do it one more time. First thing, you have to set up your system to understand what type of browser are you going to use. Is it going to be Chrome browser? Is it going to be Safari or Firefox? Okay. So to do that, you have this code called system.set property. Okay, not properties, but property. And it's asking you to input string key and string value, right? So let's see, what's going to be the key? The key, you have to know this by heart, which is WebDriver, all lowercase, dot Chrome. Now, if it was Safari or Firefox, you would say Firefox. Get it? We're now going to use Firefox, so we're going to say Chrome dot driver. Okay. So we're telling the system that we're going to be using Chrome driver here, and that's the key. The value here should have been nice if they told you instead of value, if this was like location of the driver. Whoever wrote this method, we're actually using someone else's method. They just used the word value. Could have been better. Too bad. So what you just have to know right now, that value is basically the path of where your Chrome driver is. And we stored our driver on the left side right here. If you right click on it and click on property, which is this one, can't see it because of this magnifier. Going back down here, this properties. If you click on that, it's going to give you this window. In this window, you have two paths. One is here and the other is here. One has to do with your project. This is the location where it's stored in your project. Your project is temporarily also stored in your C drive somewhere. It shows you how to get it from your C drive. You can use any one of these. If you use this, if I take your project, copy it in my computer and run it, is it going to run? It's going to look for that path for the Chrome driver, not going to find it. Unless I purposefully put the Chrome driver exactly in those paths and folder names. But if you give this address, it comes with the project. So your project will be in my computer and it's going to look at the project. It's going to find it, not going to look at the C drive. So best option is to use this. Okay. Always copy from this driver. I can't remember, did I use the // as well? Okay. So just take the / and then take all the way to exe and copy that. And inside two double quotes, paste it in here and put a dot in front of it. Dot says whatever comes before it. Don't care Whatever comes before it, just take it. Whatever the path is, the channel is. Okay. I just need to get into that room. Whatever room I have to go through before that, it's up to you. You figure it out. Right? And semicolon to close. Any question on this part? Is that simple? You just have to do it every time. Now, not every time, for linear scripting every time. But later on, I'm going to show you a framework where you can reuse these methods. That's when you don't even have to touch it. It's going to be in one room, like that electricity. There might be an utility room in this building. We're going to take it, wrap it up, and put it in that utility room and forget it. That's it. It will open up automatically, okay? We'll do that later. And next thing was, we need to do stuff with this driver, right? So we got the Chrome driver set up. This Chrome driver exe file has the power to open up the driver, click the buttons. It doesn't need a human being to do that. But we got to control it. How do we control it? There is a class, an object, if you want to call it, same thing. Class, object, same. Somebody wrote some codes that can take this Chrome driver and do stuff for you. Okay? And that's we're going to call. We're going to instantiate that class. Okay? Or create an object. You heard of these words before? What is that class then? Who wrote it? We don't know who wrote it. Yes.
There's a set property, there is a web driver. Is it like case sensitive or?
Case sensitive. It has to be all lowercase.
All lowercase.
And that is web driver. Okay. That's the class. Happens to be another called Chrome driver. Okay. Oops. I'm not explaining this well. Forget this. Chrome driver is the class that we have to instantiate. Okay. All the codes that can control the Chrome driver and click buttons or whatever, the Chrome driver class will do that for us. What type is it? It's a web driver type. So you write the type, give it a name, your choice, any name you want. In the industry, they use a name called driver. In our company, we use called get driver. Doesn't matter. We're just gonna say driver. This is a fake name, and we're going to assign with the word new Chrome driver. Bear with me. Let me explain this. Anytime you say new, you are creating a copy of that class. Okay? This class has some powers. You're creating a copy of that class and giving it with an equal sign. You are assigning this power to this guy. You seen Matrix? Have you seen Matrix? No? Okay, then that's not good. The movie Matrix.
Yeah,
Yeah,
understand
we
that.
saw that.
You know how the Matrix, the guy sort of copies and becomes somebody, goes inside another body with the glasses, the suit. So we just made a copy of this bad guy on this guy called Driver. He now has the power to do stuff for us. You still have to import a few things. If you hover over, always remember, don't let any of these red marks sit there. You fix it, resolve it line by line. So if I hover over that, it's asking me, hey, I don't know what it is, but you want to import WebDriver? And then I'll probably understand. When you do that, that import just happened right here. Same thing for Chrome driver. It's like, I don't know what it is. Hover over, it's import Chrome driver. Option comes up, import that, and that import just came in right here. Now it's happy. Okay. This yellow underline, it's okay. It's not going to fail your test. It's just telling you, hey, you created a copy of this power, gave it to this guy, but you never used his power. That's all it's telling you. Okay, we're going to start using it right now. So what happens is, have you ever heard of, did AP teach you constructors? What is a constructor?
Makes the same name of the class.
Same name as a class. Come on, speak up, guys. This is going to be an interview question. Must. I promise you. What is a constructor? They will ask you that. So a constructor is what? A method. First of all, a constructor is a method that has same name as the class name and
They are not
Static.
it should not be static. Good. Return type? Should not have a return type. Can it have parameters?
Yes.
It can have parameters. And what happens to it? This is probably the number one reason why constructor is there. We're on the fifth one. So what is the benefit of constructor?
It's trigger the operation before doing the running the code.
Correct. It runs first. Whenever you call the class, even if you didn't call the constructor or any other method, constructor will get called automatically. This guy, this class, Chrome driver is actually a class. Someone wrote the class. And in that class, he wrote a constructor. In that constructor, he has already wrote a method steps to start the browser for you. So the constructor starts the browser. Does that make sense? So that means I don't even have to say driver dot start browser. Don't have to, because when I instantiated this class, the constructor inside that class will automatically get invoked and start the browser. That means up until this point, I don't have to do anything. You will see if I just run this, it's going to start the browser. But before I run it, I left out something. And that is at capital TEST. And he doesn't know what it is. Hover over. If it asks you, if you hover over and ask you add JUnit for library to build path and the import, always do this first. Let me see if I even have it. I have the JUnit 4 library. If you have this, that's fine. If you don't have this JUnit 4 and you hover over, it gives you that option. Click on that first, then click on import. I have it, I don't need it. Import test JUnit, and that JUnit import has arrived. Now that annotation alone is a backend software code will run your test case and give you a report on the side. Plus, you will get some information in the console as well. Let's do it. You don't need these extra lines. You can right click on this and go to run as and JUnit test. You can run it by clicking on this run add contact test. If you hover over, you will notice it's telling you which one it's going to. Now, if you have multiple of these open, like Google test, and one of those have been selected, it might run a wrong test. Always clean it out. Just have one of these, and it's running the right one. Or shortcut key. Did it even tell you what the shortcut key is? Oops, I didn't want to mean that.
F11.
F11. For some, it's F11. For some, it's Alt Shift or something, F11. Just check it out yourself, figure it out. So let me just run it by clicking here, and here it starts. In the console, it's going to stay starting Chrome browser, and there's the Chrome browser. It got launched. Okay? Question so far? Let's take 10 minutes break. We'll come back and go at it with full force and show you all the XPath options. Did I answer your question on this? Okay. Online folks, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Feel free to interrupt anytime.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you are unable to see something, if the font starts too small, also feel free to stop me because I can't see from your end how it looks like. One thing you want to invest in, if you have another laptop at home, that's good. If you don't, if you have two laptops, later on, there are some classes where I'm going to be asking you to code as I code. So you're going to be doing it with me. And I'm going to be jumping into your laptop and troubleshooting. If you get stuck, why it's not working. It would be very nice if you had a laptop with my presentation going on while you are working on another laptop. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to have to go back and forth to the presentation, look at it, open Eclipse again, type in, close Eclipse, look at the video, or look at the presentation. It would slow you down. So see if you can acquire something. Your friend has one or something if you want to borrow for those classes, that will be fine too. Just keep an eye on it.
This time I have a question here. With the WebDriver equals new Chrome driver. So WebDriver is an interface, right? Because it's an interview question. What's a WebDriver? It's an interface for.
WebDriver is an interface, and Chrome driver is a class that follows the WebDriver interface. You understand that interface is a blueprint. It has some styles, and there's nothing you can do to it. You can't change it. But you can create, you can give meaning to those WebDriver blueprint methods by creating your own method. So Chrome driver, for example, class follows the WebDriver. There's also Firefox driver class that follows the WebDriver. WebDriver interface only has method signature.
Methods, right? We can say
Abstract methods has method signatures. It tells you what you must use in your particular class if you want to play with WebDriver. And you provide the logic of those methods in your own class. That's this one. All right. So, couple of property things that you can do real quickly. Set certain properties. I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's not very important. You could say driver. We already have the driver, the Chrome driver open, Chrome browser open. Yes. At this point, we could say driver, and see if I put a dot, all that power is right here. With this new Chrome driver, these powers went to him. If I put a dot, it will tell me what I'm capable of doing. And in here, you could say manage window, and you could maximize the window. Okay. You don't have to memorize this. You can play around with it. Most of the time, you don't even have to use any of these codes in your workplace because those will be put in certain places. Every time window will open up for you with maximized and those properties. You just go and do your stuff, which is click on add contact page, type in the new contact. Those are the things you're going to do. These will be done for you. You could say web manage timeouts dot implicitly wait. Okay. And you see, I don't even remember all of these all the time, even when I'm teaching, but I kind of play with it. So this dot gives me this little hint of list hint. And I'm like, okay, let me try manage. And then I look at this, I'm like, okay, I could probably do a wait right here. Okay. And then let me see if there is something else. No, nothing. Okay. Dot timeout. Okay. Dot. There is an implicitly wait. So that's your implicit wait. Okay. Implicit wait applies to implicit applies to everything. And you set it once. Set it once at the beginning. Maybe I need to back up and talk about weights a little bit. What is weights? Computer is super fast. So when you are asking the computer to click a button, pull down a drop down, imagine if we have to drop this down and choose United States or United Kingdom. That drop down to you is like slow. For computer, it can be super fast. Okay. So if you have two commands, one is open this and choose United Arab Emirates. He opened it and immediately he started looking for United Arab Emirates before even this got open. And your test case is going to fail. It's not going to find it. Okay? Because he's doing both of those things so quickly, fraction of a second. But this did take 1 second. He's not going to wait 1 second. He's going to do it in the milliseconds, going to look for that Arab Emirates. But unfortunately, this took a second to open. Your method of choosing United Arab Emirates is not going to work. It's going to fail. That's why you have to slow it down. Slow your codes down a little bit so that all those things can be captured. Okay? This is a fake website, so it opened up in a second. If this was a real website, for them to make a call, if you choose, let's say, state of Texas, if you put zip code, have you seen where you put zip code, then you get certain state, or you put a state, you get something else. One field depends on another field. What happens is when you do that, it goes to the database, makes a call saying, hey, this customer put in this zip code. So what's the state for that zip code? He looks for it, finds it, comes back out. That takes time. Yeah, it can take a second or two, sometimes 10 seconds, depending on the load of the server. If you don't put your code to slow down, if it's right away when your Website is slow because of too many people are going in. And let's say this takes 2 seconds, 5 seconds, your next code to pick this United Arab Emirates is going to fail. That's why you need wait. Now there are different types of wait. The very simplest wait is the implicit wait, which you put it at the beginning of your test case. You write it once and you forget it. And it applies to every single code you write. Okay? Now, it's a hit or miss. I said it works for every single code. So how do we write it first of all? Let's go back in here. For you to write implicit wait, you call the driver dot manage timeouts, bring that in, dot implicit wait, and it's asking for two things. One is time. This is in, if you want it in seconds, you could say typically it's like 10. Let's put 10 seconds. Okay, 10. And over here, you're going to specify what that 10 means. The unit. Is it in seconds, minutes, hours? And this is how it's written. You just have to memorize this. Time unit dot seconds. If you don't write it this way in Pascal case, time unit, you won't get this suggestion. So in seconds, and that's it. Now that 10 becomes in seconds, and it's going to wait. If it cannot find something, it's going to wait maximum 10 seconds. Okay. After 10 seconds, if that drop down takes 11 seconds, your test case will fail. Sometimes you want to fail your test case if it's more than certain time. Let's say 60 seconds or 90 seconds. Why? You want to, that's when it becomes performance testing or load testing to see how long it takes for your software to load. You want to report that to your developer saying that, hey, it took more than 60 seconds for this page to show up, which is not a good thing, because if, imagine yourself, you're on a website and it takes 60 seconds. Are you going to wait 60 seconds or are you going to say, forget it, I'll come back later on. Let me move out of that. If a customer moved from that page, you lost business. So Amazon, Walmart, these are really focusing on those things. You wouldn't believe there's an army of people in their software department that are trying to tackle these issues because they will lose customers because of that. So it's very important. And you as a tester, you have to be smart enough to figure those things out. You will get there. So no worries. Now,
I have a question here.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that 10 seconds will be for all the,
everything.
so whatever the codes we are going to write in this test case,
Yes.
right? So it will wait for 10 seconds when it will not get the data whatever we are looking.
Yes.
That is a map.
Yes. You in your workplace, you don't ever have to write this code. It will be written somewhere in the framework. What you will be writing is explicit wait, which we'll get to it shortly. But let me just proceed. No more questions about this?
On the top, there is a driver.manage
Mhm.
that window. Why would you skip this one? The certain properties.
So there's other things you can do is delete cookies. Do you know what cookies are?
Or just delete cookies?
Yeah, like each time you turn on your browser, browser stores a few things in the memory. They call it cache. And for example, Google saves your passwords, username and password. Sometimes you don't even have to put in password. Google remembers and it enters for you. It actually stored it in the cache, some sort of cache. Those cache information can mess up your next login. So if you're testing a website and you want to use a different username, different customer name to test it, even though you didn't ask it to save it, it automatically saved some info from your previous customer you did. And now you're trying to log in with a different customer. it's messing it up for you. Some data gets messed up. It's nice if you delete everything. Delete all that, clean all that. And you can do it from your page right here. If you write manage, delete, see that option? Delete all cookies. It will do that for you. So when you run this, it's going to maximize the window. It's going to delete all the cookies. And then it's going to whatever you want to do. Okay?
So no, I don't understand it. What is the effect of maximize of the Windows?
It's not maximized. It will
Oh,
maximize
for
the window.
maximize.
Meaning
Window.
your whole screen is going to get wrapped with it. Yeah. Good.
Mhm.
Not going to spend time on this anymore.
Yeah.
Okay?
Don't need.
Because you're not going to be using it. I want to spend time on where you are going to spend time. Now we're going to get to the website. We got set up all these properties. Okay, it's always going to be the same. Here's what's going to be your daily work. We got the open browser. Step 2. Who remembers? Driver dot get, and in here with double quote because it's string, we need to open up this site. Let me log out. I like to copy it from here because it's supposed to give me HTTP, but it brought it right here. It didn't show up on that window, see that? But when I copied it from here to here, it did bring it all that, which I need. No errors so far. So far so good. Always run every step, make sure it's working. Don't write too much code. Here's the window opened up. Now it's gonna get maximized. That's maximized. Clean the cookies on the back end. And it's gonna type in text files.
So why it's taking some time? Due to the implicit wait. Due to the implicit wait. I don't think so.
Implicit wait if it had to fail it, but maybe it's my laptop that needs it's going slowly. Or yeah, it has to be my laptop. Okay. But we got the window open and got everything done. Okay. I want it slow right now because if it goes fast, I won't be able to show you, and I'm gonna have to slow down on purpose. Here's the way to slow down on purpose. Before I do that, what if I wanted to close the window also? Right now I had to close it myself, right? Didn't I have to exit out? But what if I wanted driver dot close? Another one you want to do? Driver dot quit. What's the difference?
Close the particular browser. Whatever is open.
Close the browser and
And going to kill this.
ends the WebDriver session. Otherwise, the WebDriver is still in the back end waiting. Browser closed, but he's still waiting. And you may have multiple WebDrivers, instances of those WebDrivers waiting for you to give commands, and it's eating up a lot of your. What happened?
I think electricity, no power.
Outside.
Outside there's no power. No, they say.
TV just shut down, right?
Yeah, there's no power.
No power is there.
No power.
Let me pause the video. All right, looks like it's back on. Can we move on? Okay, we got a lot of information to cover. Understand about the close and the quit? We'll be in the interview. And you have to explain it in a human way. just like I did. Okay? That it closed the browser, but the driver is still in the back end, eating up your performance of your computer. You want to quit that too. So everything is closed up. Your computer performance is saved. Now, if I run this right now, there's the browser. Maximize. Take files. Gone. But I want to show you that what happened. I can force it to stop for a few seconds. And that is the way you do that. You type in thread dot sleep. Choose the one that says milliseconds and only has one perimeter, not two. How do I know this is two? Because I see this comma. So I'm just going to take that, put it right here, and this goes in milliseconds. 1000 millisecond is 1 second. So if I wanted to stop for 3 seconds, I would have to type in what?
3000.
3000. Now, let's run this again. But if I do that, you have to bring in one of these two things. Either add throws declaration or surround everything by try catch. I don't know why they do that, but you just have to. I like to just do this real fast. Add throws declaration. Take that. What it did is it went into the top of your method and added this part right here. Throws interrupted exception. There's a whole lot to explain about this, but don't want to do it now. We'll talk about it another day. Now, let's run this again. Opens up. Maximize 1, 2, 3, and close. Okay, so you can use that while you're actually automating. You may need to stop certain spots just to spot check to see if your things are working. Later on, you want to take this out. You want to delete this out. So to stop and observe, but do not use unless you have to. In some places, no wait works. Implicit wait doesn't work. Other fancy waits still doesn't work. You have to put in a couple of seconds there. We'll get to that also later. Okay. Moving on, we are.
Sir.
Yes.
What's the difference between wait and stop?
Wait and what?
You have used two steps, right? One is the first one is the wait time, that one, and the second one is 3000 millisecond.
Yes. So the difference between the implicit wait is you have to write it only once.
Okay.
It only gets activated when it cannot find something.
Oh.
For example, when the browser opened up, you saw that it took a few seconds for this page to show up. If this page took more than 10 seconds to show up, it would fail.
Okay.
So that implicit wait was waiting for certain elements or page to load to show up. But it didn't have to wait 10 seconds. It's not going to wait 10 seconds on every single step. Does that make sense? That's implicit wait. It doesn't. But if you put thread sleep, it's going to wait that 3 seconds. If you put 5 seconds, it's going to wait 5 seconds. Must. Make sense?
Okay.
So there is the until
It will wait.
10 seconds.
This may wait
Until, yeah. If you need, then
to the maximum of
maximum of 10 seconds.
10 seconds. But this one will wait 3 seconds. Now, username and password and hit submit. Phew, so much time went by. All right, let's take a look at this page. So in here, we're going to type in username and password, and you've done this. Do you have any questions about basic element locators? Are you clear with that? Do you know that you have to right click and hit inspect? You understand that part, okay? Do you understand HTML from HTML class? Okay. Do you understand that every single one of these sandwiches, I like to call it, because it's like top bread right there. Here's the meat and there's the bottom slice. Okay, all of these are sandwiches. So these are called nodes or elements. Are you clear that everything that you see on this page is an element? Every one of these elements is written in here. Make sense? You can right click on this box and hit inspect. It's going to highlight that element. Get it? I can right click on this, inspect. It's going to take me to the code behind that element. Do you understand that you can represent this window down here by clicking here and choosing dock to bottom? Okay, you can open this up, make it bigger, smaller. You can also open it up in a different window by clicking here. It's nice if you had two computers, one with this and the other one the actual website. That's how I do it in my workplace. They will give you two monitors. So you have one in your one monitor and you look at these elements. You're the spy. You're the object spy in this right here. But for now, for presentation, I'm going to just leave it here. If you click on this window and hit Control minus, you can reduce, Control plus, increase the font. Get it? Very important that you see this clearly. Otherwise, you won't be able to write XPaths properly. If you click on this window and then click Control F, it's going to give you this search box. Get it? In this search box, you're going to type your XPath to find these elements. Okay. Who can name me the basic element locators?
ID.
ID. Good. Name. What else? Link text. And then? With the
Class.
link text, there comes another one. Partial link text. So you don't have to memorize that one too much. Right? So you got 4. What else?
Class.
Huh?
CSS locator.
XPath, CSS locator. We're missing one more.
Class.
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 Okay, there's more, but 7 you must know. ID, name, class, link text, partial link text, CSS, and leave the XPath for last.
I think name is there one more.
Yeah, ID, name. Here's the class. You can find this element by this class, value of this class. You can find this element by name. You can find this element by ID. So ID name class is there. If there is ID there, go with ID. If there is name there, go with name. If ID name not available, you have class, not the best one, but if that class value is unique, it's okay. You can use it. Chances are there may be more elements with that same class. Take a look at this one. Form control for this bad boy, which is this box, and form control for this one, this box, both of them have same class. You won't be able to catch them with using these class names. So class name is not. Suppose this is not going to be, we're not going to use ID and name because you already know how to use ID and name. So we're going to use XPath. How do we do that? Okay. XPath gives you the power to find any element in any state. Okay. The very first thing you got to do. Now, we did talk about two things. One is absolute XPath and the other is relative XPath. What's the difference? Interview question. Must.
Absolute this gives the from the beginning of the structure.
Mhm.
It goes with the structure. So if there is any changes in the structure, our test case will get failed. So
Excellent answer.
that is the
Very good answer. Yes, it starts with the very top of the file, which is HTML, and it's a one single forward slash. We'll start with single forward slash HTML. See that got highlighted? And then it's gonna creep through every single thing, okay, to find it. So you're gonna have to say, if I'm finding this guy, I don't need the head, I need the body. So here, body. Then if you look down the tree, this is where I need to go. So I have to use div. So another div, oops. Another div. Yeah, I need to go down here, or maybe to this form. So from here, I need to jump down here. Another forward slash form. From there, I need to dive down to div, but not this one, this one. But as soon as I hit div, it's going to give me the first one. But I have to say, not the first one, go to the second one with open, close square bracket. Don't learn this. I'm just showing you.
we are not going to use it.
Don't use this, yeah, ever. And now I'm on the second. See if I hit enter, it stays there. But if I take this 2 off, it's going to highlight this one. If I hit enter, it's going to come down here. Hit another enter, it's going to come down here. Here, again, go back up. But if I specify this to 2, now it's there. And one more forward slash, say input, I caught it. Caught the element. Bad thing about this, if you use this as your location to find element, tomorrow they're going to add something in here, like an icon. Or maybe if they want to say password in here, not in the box, they're going to have to add another sandwich or another div. And you just said div 2, your div 2 could become div 3 when they added another div right on top of it. Now yours became div 3. Guess what? Your test case failed. It cannot find the element. And if that happens, somebody has to spend more time on going and fixing that. If that happens to your login page, guess how many test cases are going to fail? All of them. Now you got all test cases failing. Everybody's panicking. They're thinking, did our software break? Okay. Later on, they're going to catch on. No, it's the automation code failure. Software is fine. Guess what? They lost trust in your automation. They think you guys are amateurs. You're just playing around with doing stuff, distracting the developers. They're fine. You never want to lose your trust. Once you lose your trust on automation, it's very hard for them to trust you back. They're just going to think you're just a side bug, something, annoyance. You don't want to be there. You want to show that, yeah, you are giving value to the company. Okay? So you got to be careful about your test periods. If your test failed because of your test itself, bad. That's bad. Your test should fail because software broke. Just by div moving one step down, it's not a bug at all. It's fine with the software. Your test has to be smart enough to identify elements regardless of their code change. Make sense? Absolute XPath starts with HTML at the top of the tree. It uses single forward slash. If they ask you, do you ever use it? You say no. I don't have a single absolute path. I don't ever use it. Now, relative XPath starts with double forward slash. And you write the tag name first of that specific tag name. Okay. So if I right click here, inspect, the tag name is what? Input. So you type in input. Double forward slash, tag name, open square bracket, close square bracket. Whatever goes on the inside is I'm going to show you. So this frame always stays the same. So in here, I got the double forward slash input, got the tag name. Notice it got highlighted already. But it's telling me how many are there. This last number tells you the total number of elements found with this much information. 2. You have to get to 1. Unique. If you can get to 1 of 1, you got it unique. And that's what you can use. Otherwise, no. Okay. So, formula says you put double forward slash, write the tag name, open, close square bracket. Okay. Inside the square bracket, what do you want to put? Up to you. In here, suppose I don't have ID. We don't have name. What are we going to do? Well, how about this? We can check to see if this placeholder equal to email address, if that is unique. Okay. You can use that with a class. You can use the class with this one, ID with this one, name with this one. But everything else you can use with XPath. You can actually use ID with XPath too. Name with XPath too. XPath just wraps everything. Okay? So if I say input that formula, you have to use this @ symbol first. And then write the name of the attribute you want to bring in with an equal sign and whatever the value is. Only thing you're going to change is instead of double quote, you want to use single quote. Because if you use double quote in Java, it thinks it's something else. It's a string or something. But we want an XPath. We don't want this to be taken as a string to confuse it. So what's the easy way to do it? And that is, suppose I want to check to see this placeholder if this is unique. You double click on it. Now got focused right there. You press Control A. It will highlight just that much information. You press Control C to copy. You come down here in this empty box. Okay. Formula says you need what? @ symbol. Then you press Control V to paste all that junk. Hit a backspace, put a single quote, go all the way back here, take that, put a single quote instead. Easy? Come back out, check to see if you got 1 of 1. If you got a unique element identity. This is the finest XPath you can get. It will never fail. Now, Control C to copy that whole thing, or Control A to select, Control C to copy. You're ready to write your code. What do? You call the driver. Dot find element. Okay, there's two of them. Find elements. Find element. One plural, one singular. Talk about the plural later. By capital BY dot, and we said we wanted to use one. See, there's so many. 7 is what you need to know. And ideally, if you're good with XPath, you're the boss. You can do anything. So we're just gonna say dot X gives me some stuff right there. That's what we want, not another by XPath. That will give you an error because we already said by dot XPath. Bring that down here. It tells you that it needs a string XPath expression, which you got it from the website. So what you do is at this point, you hit a backspace. It deletes that. You press Shift, single quote, you put 2 double quotes right away. If you press once, it gives you twice. That's the software. Helps you out a little. And now, I copied that with the Control C. So if I just hit Control V here, it pasted that inside the double quotes for me. Okay? If you do it this way, you can do faster. So, what did I do so far? I caught the element. Driver, we said, hey driver, go find the element. How? He's like, how? We said, by XPath. And here's the XPath. Okay. So he's like, got it. What do you want from me now? Well, we want to send some information down there. So dot send keys. And in send keys, again, look at this. It's asking for character sequence. That means string, put double quote, and the login is TechFiles demo, right? Demo at gmail.com. That's it. Let's test it out to see if it really works. Did it type in? And then 3 seconds waited, closed up. Good so far? Any questions so far? Easy? Okay.
Much easier.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Now we just repeat the same pattern, right? So let's do this. Now we gotta find password. So right click, inspect, and here's password. Okay. This has placeholder called password. It has type password. Maybe we can use type for a change. So let's see. All I have to do is double click, Control A, Control C, go in here, Control V, need to delete that, and replace this with single quote. And did we get 101? Done. Easy? Easy XPath. So just took that, go to the code, driver dot find element by dot XPath.
Can you copy the top?
Sure. And a shortcut is to copy that, but it doesn't always work. Duplicate row where the cursor is. Control Alt down arrow. Control Alt down arrow. So if I put my cursor here and press Control Alt down arrow, it didn't do it. Sometimes it does, sometimes. Or maybe this keyboard is not good. Control Alt down. No, doesn't want to work. That's fine. You can just copy it this way. Control C, Control V, and we take the X path. Copy that. Go in here, inside the double quote, all the way back here. You've got to be very careful when you do this, because one little mess will create an error. And you have to resolve that error before you go to the next line of code. Never move forward. And SendKey's password is ABC123. Okay? Let's see if it does that. F11.
It's F11, right?
In my F11 does. Yours may be Control F11. Try it out. If F11 doesn't work. There, username and password. Did AP show you how you can see the password?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's
Can
really nice.
you use the placeholder as the first type, the second?
Yeah. Anything you want.
Okay, but now you have to put the username and the password same placeholder, right?
Well, the placeholder for password is, notice it says password. But placeholder for username, the value was email address. So they were different. They were unique to themselves, and that's why I could use both of them the same way. Just saying, you have a lot of choices. Okay, got a lot of options. But this is easy, guys. When you actually go for a work, you're not going to find this information. And it gets so complicated to find. It's not going to be this easy. It's going to take hours finding an expat. Yes, it could. And then you're trying to work on it. You write the expat, everything's fine, no errors. Computer doesn't recognize it. It doesn't type. And you're debugging. What's going on? Why doesn't it type it? Why doesn't it click the button I just found the expat for? That's how real life is. Okay. And that's why you need to know these things that I'm going to show you right now. Next one. Sign in. So I'm going to do it the complicated way, like as if this was a very difficult one for you at the work. And it's going to be interview questions, because they will want to see how good you are with it. If you are good with expat and you can explain that in the interview, oh my God, you got the job. Okay. This one, let's say we don't have a class, we don't have a name, we don't have type, we got nothing. And sometimes there won't be anything inside the sandwich. But it has something. Sign in Word. It has this text there, doesn't it? We can use expat with that text method that I was talking about. That right there. Okay, examples are in here. You can read about it more. So I'm going to show you this example right now. How do I use text? Here's what you can do. Everything stays the same. Who can tell me what's the syntax? Basic syntax. Double forward slash. What? Tag name here is button. button. And then open square bracket, close square bracket, must. Once you got to this, then you decide what you want to do. What else cream you want to put in it. We said we wanted to put in, which is text. How do I know this is a text? Is there a color difference? What color is that? Black. Everything that's going to be a visual text here, this is a graphics, that's why you won't see it. But This one, sign in or forgot password, this will be also in black. See that? Forgot password. Anything you see in black is text. Therefore, you can use text operation in your XPath to get it. How would you do that? Because text is a method within the XPath, you don't have to use at the rate symbol. Okay? For contains and text, because they have these symbols which automatically tells you they are methods, you don't have to use at the rate symbol. So that means I could just go in here and type in the word text, open close method, equal to single quotes. What's the text? Double click, Control C for copy. Bring your cursor here. And when you're in there, press Control V. And you got 101. Got it? If I type in just one letter less, what happens?
Didn't find it.
Didn't find it. You have to give it everything that is being displayed. So in. Also, if I put the N, like capital IN, sign in, doesn't recognize. It's super case sensitive, and you have to put in every single word, letter, to the point. Sometimes there's a space there, and you won't even see there's a space maybe here. And you thought you typed in fine, but you didn't add the space. It's not fine. So what's a better way? You can actually use something called contains. Contains means as long as something is there, not the whole thing doesn't have to be there.
Even if it is not text, right?
Yeah,
Everything.
it is still case sensitive, but as long as it contains something, we're happy. If you just want to use kind of like partial link text, as long as some part of that link is there, we're good. Then you use the method called contain. Okay, these are just XPath methods. There's a Java method contains too, which is also similar. So how do I use that? Here's what you got to do. You have to first start with contains. And you can use this contains not only with text, with ID, with whatever type you want. All you can mix and match and jumble it together. As long as your logic is right, it works. I'm just going to use it for text right now. I'll show you more options down the road. So if I just use contains, all lowercase, open close parentheses. Now, inside the contains, you got to go inside that parentheses. Okay? Everything has to go inside that. Because that contains method is taking parameters. You're going to pass in the parameter inside. And it's going to do some things and spit out whatever it needs to. So contains, we said what we're going to use? Text. So now you use the text, whole thing that we just did before, you put it inside in here. Text with the open close method symbols. Before we used an equal sign, didn't we? But guess what? Contains is a method, and you're passing parameters. How do we pass parameters? We don't put equal sign, do we?
No.
We put in comma and then put the second one. Every little piece of things, we put it by commas. So every time you use contain, anything you put inside the contain has to go through commas instead of equals. Okay. So we said contains text. Here's where you're going to put in text with a comma. And now it does not have to be the whole thing. It could just be sign, S-I-G-N, and it found one. Okay. You could even, but if you say, if I put a weird character there,
It's not gonna
I couldn't find any. But I could even put in like that I, part of that in. I skip the N, still finds it. But if I put the I with the capital, it doesn't find it. Okay. So we're just gonna stay up to this far because, hey, still unique. I don't have to use the in word if I don't want to. So here's your example for contains. Let's copy that and go in here. And now driver dot find element by dot xpath.
Can we do ignore?
And see that I forgot single quote. Has to be single quote. Sorry, I put it as a double.
So
It was showing.
It's gonna work. It's gonna work there. And look, Java put a / to ignore this and not get confused with this quote.
Yeah.
It's a mess. It works, but it's a mess.
single quote.
Just put a single quote. What if your IDE did not put a / there? Then you would panic and it would fail here. You would like, why is it failing? So we got up to this far. I put a dot and we want to do what to that button? Click on it. And we click on it. Okay. Good so far? Run it. Good. It took us to the dashboard, and that was our proof that it opened up. Okay. You all need a break, or are you good?
You're good. I'm good.
Okay. This click, every single action actually needs some sort of validation. How do you know this click happened if you don't validate? Yeah. But if you try to validate everything, that becomes so lengthy, becomes so much work. So you pause and decide where you want to validate. I think when you go into this website and you hit the sign in button, you should validate whether this page showed up or not. Whether this dashboard showed up or not. Two reasons. One, you want to make sure this showed up before clicking on CRM and add content. Because what's the point of clicking here if this page didn't show up? And two, what if this page takes a few more seconds to show up and you don't put some sort of wait there and you try to click on this CRM and go to that contact? It won't even recognize what it is. If the page is not open, Selenium doesn't know if those elements exist or not. So we're going to kill two birds with one stone. One, and that is validate that this dashboard showed. And two, it's going to wait a certain amount of time for it to show before it will execute anything. Got it? The way to do that, explicit wait. Okay. That explicit wait, meaning it will only be applied to certain element. Where is it? There. So it's like clearly stated. Explicit means clearly stated in detail, leaving no room for confusion or doubt. It will only be applied to the element. You're going to give it an expected condition. Either the element is whether visible, either the element is clickable, either the element is stale, enabled, either the element is selected. All of these conditions are in explicit wait, which is not available in implicit wait or thread sleep. This is one major difference of implicit wait versus explicit. With explicit wait, you have how many conditions? Multiple. Many ways you can put explicit wait. With implicit, you can't. These are your interview answers. They will ask you about this. And even the guy who is going to interview you probably doesn't know jack about fluent wait, will ask you that question just to see if you're good or not. And you might say some things he may not even understand. But if you say it with the confidence, he's going to think that you know it. So fluent wait, it's like way out there. It's a lot more than you will ever need or use. We'll talk about that later someday. But for now, I'm going to show you how to use explicit wait. Explicit wait is written in a class. You have to instantiate another object to use those powers or benefits. And you have to instantiate that class, take all that powers, and give it to your trusted guy, the driver. So the driver is a Superman already. Now he's going to get the Spider-Man powers too. Okay? So we're going to feed him with all those powers and then have him do stuff. Here's how you instantiate. You call the class called WebDriver wait. And you can give it another name for it called wait. And then you start with a new. Same thing again, repeat that, WebDriver wait. And then you pass in the driver. I'll show you there. I'll just write it down. It's going to get much easier. Where is it? So, explicit wait given to the driver. Okay? Just like you did it right here. WebDriver driver equals new driver. You do the same thing. This one is WebDriver wait. Typically, people like to give it a name called wait. Equal to new. You copy this whole thing. Why is this thread slip giving me error? That's because, see that? Because I got an error here. It's messing up right here. That's why I recommend always write line by line. Don't write in the middle. But I'm teaching you this, so I'm doing it. But if I was doing my code, I would have wrote this code later or maybe block it out for now. One way to block comment it out, you just highlight it, press Control /. It will block it out, right? All of it, all at once. Okay. So now we're good. There should give me an error here because I haven't imported it. So copy this guy, put it right here, open close parenthesis, in here, give it the time unit in seconds. Typically companies would put in 60 seconds. Anything more than 60, it will fail, tell you the server was slow, somebody in the backend need to work on the server to get it faster. And here, you pass in this guy who had these powers of the Chrome driver power. So now if I pass in this guy here, what happens is this WebDriver wait will take the 60 seconds and take the driver and with his sword, kind of like the knights of the medieval, he's going to touch his shoulders and give him the 60-second power. Okay? And then transform him to another guy called wait. With this guy, we have the driver who's a Superman and has a Spider-Man quality too. Got it? Let's go ahead and import this and import here. It's asking me to swap arguments, so I made a mistake. Driver goes first. And 60 seconds goes later. All right. Now, if I say wait, he is actually the driver with more power. If I put a dot, look at this. Some things come up. Okay, some more powers came in that list of powers that we had. So here, just want to stay up to here for now. Okay. Let's go back to this guy. We wanted to check this dashboard name showed up. You can check anything you want. You want to keep it simple. Get it more fancy, it's going to fail. I just want to check to see if this dashboard name showed up. Because my argument is, if the submit button was clicked properly, this dashboard should have showed up. Agree? Then let's just find this location of this. Let's find that element. Okay? Let's find this element. So if I right click, inspect, it's on H2 and there is that word right there. Okay? Can I find it with an ID?
No, there is no.
No idea.
Name?
No.
Any
Text.
class? No.
No.
So what's my option?
Contains.
Can I use link text?
No.
Why not? Because the word is not a link. This could be a link. I don't know. How do we know it's a link?
Clickable.
It's the colors.
The cursor should.
Colors are in blue, typically blue, maybe underlined. Or if you want to go deeper, you need to check to see the sandwich. What is the sandwich made out of? The tag. If that has a tag, it's a link text. Okay. If it has an href, which takes you to another link, if you click here, it takes you to that link. Then it is a link text. That's how you know it. Okay. Over here, you will know it because it's blue, it's underlined. Those are your telltale sign. But if you're still not sure, you right-click, inspect. Interview, they will ask you. You say, I right-click, inspect. And then if the tag contains the letter A, tag name is A, that's one option. It tells me that it is a link text. And then if there's a href, and then there's a text there that even displays right here. All of that is like sign that this is a link text. But this guy is not. So we can't use link text on this one. What can you use? What is that? What element locator is that? XPath, yes. So we're going to use XPath first. Don't jump into contains. Your interviewer might get confused. Say start with that 7. Okay. What are you going to use? Start with the 7 first. If you say XPath, then go inside. First say XPath, then go inside. How are you going to do it? Okay. And you can ask them, do you want me to go over the entire syntax with you? Or would you like me to just tell you pseudocode of how I'm going to get there? Then you could, if he says, yeah, just tell me verbally. Then you could say, yeah, I would use contains on this. But if he says, yeah, just tell me everything, then you say /. Okay, /. Then what? H2. They might give you a computer in your face-to-face interview. They asked me. I failed that, by the way. And then they will tell you what, type in, find one for me, and you just go and find. Take your time. I mean, don't panic when you do that. So H2, and then square bracket. Good. Inside, I'm gonna say contains open close parentheses. Then what?
Inside text.
Inside the parentheses.
Text.
Text. Then what? Text has its own open close.
Yes. Equal.
Not equal,
Right here.
right? Because we're
okay.
passing perimeters.
Okay.
So
Then.
comma, two single quote. Always put in two right away. Go inside the single quote. See, you already got highlighted, but we wanna, yeah, dashboard. Do you, by the way, see a space right there? If you didn't use contain and use text equals dashboard and don't use the space, it's not gonna recognize. But not going to go there. So, are we happy with the XPath? We got 1 of 1. Now we know where the element is. So, Control C, copy that. Come back in here. What if I wanted to store an element? You can store text in a string, yes? Whenever you say string, computer creates a memory space for you. Then you give it a name of the memory, something becomes the name of the memory, and then you can type in whatever you want to type in. Close it with that. Automatically, Java created a memory spot that can store string. Spot name is something, and it stored that info for you. What if I wanted to store an element and use it later?
Can you put the XPath?
You can also do it, yeah, you can do it like this. You could say, let me just do it here. Store an element. To store the element is called not string, web element. It's hard for people, for me at least, was like, hey, I'm storing int, giving it a name, number equals, not in a quote.
Nothing.
Not happy? Too
Because
much?
it is too much.
Too many.
To be do it double.
What am I doing wrong?
No, you're right.
Fine. No? Yeah, range went too much. So I'm like, okay, I'm storing an int. This one got this color, this one doesn't. Why?
Primitive and non-primitive.
Primitive and non-primitive data type.
This was there from the start of the Java, but this wasn't there. Somebody created this. You are actually, this is a class. This class has a way to store data. You're storing it in a class. Then you're probably asking, why didn't I instantiate this class? Didn't you say every time you want to bring in a class, you have to instantiate with a new? Not for string, because string is built into Java. That's why. But it automatically instantiated already. And you stored it in a class. Same thing, this web element. Selenium gave you this web element built in. You don't have to instantiate this class. You can just say web element and import. Hover over, not gonna give you right now. And give it a name.
Dashboard.
So for this element, each element has to have a name, and the Java standard is all capital and separate each word separated with an underscore. And your naming convention should be whatever that is, and end with a locator. Well, no, not locator. Element. Web element. It should end with the element. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna say, brainstorm with me. What would be a good name for this element? This is a page title, isn't it? Isn't it a page title? How about page title element? So your element name has to be clear enough for someone else to read it. Tab, not tab, all caps. Page title element. Okay. Equal to, you created a container. The container is going to store web element. You give it a name of the container, same thing as string something, and you go find and put that there. So what are you going to do? Driver dot, same thing, find element by dot, didn't we say XPath? XPath, and in here, that XPath that we just found, right here, done.
You need to import web element.
Hover over, now it understands what I'm talking about, and import web element.
So why we are storing?
Good question. In the industry, you will have a page class. Remember this file right here? Source main Java. Later on, 2-3 weeks from now, I'm going to give you framework. That's when we're going to have a package called page. In this package, we're going to have a class called, for every single page, there's going to be a page class. Dashboard page. In this page class, you're going to have all those elements. It's called the element library. Right now, you're doing a linear scripting, which you got everything, all mess, all junk in one. But later on, you're going to take all this junk, clean it up, put them in proper shelf. And you're going to take it off this shelf, take this one off this shelf. Oh, I need this element. I got it. I need this element. I got it. Wouldn't it be nice if you had a junior software engineer who doesn't know much about programming, but he knows how to find elements? You just told him, hey, go to this page, find all these elements, and write all that XPath in a class for me. How could that benefit you? You don't have to spend hours in going through inspect and writing all this. All you're gonna do is just gonna look at the name he gave for this one and say, is displayed. Look at this add deposit. You're gonna say add deposit button dot click. That's it. You're just gonna execute all that. I had there's a guy who's working for our company in India. I manage him, and he's kind of new. So initially, I was getting like all weird codes. So I told him, back up. Let's break it up. We're gonna do test case together. You're gonna do the legwork for me. So you go in there and find all these elements in XPath. So he would create these classes for me, page class, and I would look at his page classes and look at those element names, and I'll just call the names. That's it. I didn't have to mess with this part, driver.findElement, ever again. I would just look at this. And with this, see this, what happens? If I say, it may not work right now because it's not in the framework, but let's see. It might. Dot, look at that.
Here, click. Yes, click.
I can click right here. Or I could say send keys. I don't have to write driver.findElement by all of that at all. I could just take wherever he stored it and use that. That's what you're gonna be doing in the framework. Okay. You're gonna be writing this once. And then whatever the name you gave, page title element, this element cannot take send keys. This element is a static element. It cannot click. But it can tell you something called is displayed. If I say is displayed, this whole thing is going to come back as a true or false. Imagine this evaporating in the air and the word comes out true or false. Okay. Then what you do with that true or false is your validation part. If it comes out as true, your validation should say pass. If it comes out as false, you're going to say fail. Dashboard didn't show. Then you go in and test why didn't it show. Okay. Any question about this? I know it's a big concept right now for you to grasp, but it's very, very important. We're going to be playing with this a lot.
So this naming convention is being followed by all the companies usually, or should be in the caps lock.
If not, you can brag about it. You can tell them that this is Java convention, so you can recommend they're going to respect you.
Okay.
What's another way to store these? What if I wanted to store from here? And this much. There's a way to do that too. That's that by class. So if you come here, sometimes you may need to use that. And instead of web element, like instead of int, instead of string, instead of web element, you'd say by. You just instantiated the by class. Now you need a storage. Okay, give it a name. Same. Only thing is, if it's element, it's web element. If it's by, you always end it with locator. You know what? This is just a name to find what you're going to store. Where? In the by class. What are you going to store? Comes after the equal sign. You can't store this whole thing. It's not going to like it. Yeah, if I just put that whole thing in here, it's going to panic. It's going to be like, well, you said you wanted to store by. I only store from wherever the by is, not the rest of the junk. So I don't like it. Might give you some good suggestions, may not. Type mismatch, cannot convert from web element to by. He understands this whole thing is a web element. And this part is the by. So if I just take this part out, if I just copy from here, where does it end? Right there. Okay. So end to end, take that and put it in here. He's happy. What if I were to write it down? Easier. By dot xpath XPath, and in here you take this XPath. I'll give you a break soon at 12 o'clock. Don't worry. It's good. I can't do page title locator dot click. If I take that dot, it won't do click. Yeah, because he's like, well, page title locator starts from a by, it doesn't have the driver part. You got to add it to it. If you add to it, then it works. Watch this. I could just say driver dot find element. I get to up to this part.
Then I can
What parameter does it take? By.
page.
Yeah, the by element is the parameter it takes. I could put this whole thing in here, or I could put this guy, because this name is the same thing as now all of this. So I could just take that, copy, and put it in here. Literally, I mean, I just put in all that in here, which is the same thing that we've been doing. And close, well, now I can say dot, it will have that click option. Dot send keys, it will have that option. It will recognize the send keys. Okay? If you got this concept practiced well, you're good to go. Also, you could say is displayed or is not. Okay? You want to break now or do 10 more minutes and then break at 12?
Can you explain line 46 again?
Yes. So line 46, we understood. Let me think. So far you understand this part, right? Driver dot find element by locator and then that. Imagine that's a big house. Imagine that's a yeah, it's a big house. For you to store this whole thing, complicated stuff, they created a storage called web element. And you give it your choice of a name. And then you store all this. Somebody thought, hey, what if I wanted to store this much? For some reason, you will see the benefit of this later. Then I don't need a massive storage. I can have a little bit smaller storage because it's like half the house. Okay. It's just the sunroom I'm storing. So he created another class called by class, and you give it a name and then you store that. Okay. It's just a storage container. Now, because this whole thing is stored in this storage called page title element, if you take that page title element and hit the dot, it doesn't need you to write this again, because all of that is there already. This page title element is same thing as driver dot find element by dot xpath blah 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 blah. That means if I was able to just take this and put a dot click here, I can also get rid of all this, and instead of all this, just use page title element word and be able to say dot click here. Make sense? Initially, it's gonna feel kind of funny. It will feel weird, okay? But you get used to it, and then it will become innate, and then you become the Java engineer. Right now you're in the steps of getting in there. But once it clicks and then you've got practice, and then now it becomes a second nature. Now you're different from a person on the street. Now you're an engineer. It will come to you. And then same thing, if I were to be able to do this, see this, by.expat and all that. But didn't I just save all this from by.expat this much in this word? In this container storage? Then can I not replace this much with this? I can just take this word, because that is the same thing as by.expat, and put it right in here. And then be able to click on it or do something to it. It will understand it. Okay? You just need to know these two things right now. If you ever need to store the element there and ask for it later. Okay. Just take a 5 minutes break, okay? Take a 5 minutes break. And then we'll come back and I'll show you how to finish up this explicit weight that we created and use it on this element. Be back on time. See, there are people like me that are going for higher pay salaries right now. I wish I was like them. Those are like daredevil guys. They will go in, they know a little bit, and they will say they know a lot and just keep going for higher and higher and higher. And a lot of people are asking me to do that. But I feel like there's so much more learning happening in what I'm doing right now that I will miss out. Plus, I will take the risk of going into an environment and setting up everything by myself. And what if I struggle in some areas? It would be stressful. Yes, I could make more money.
May I add something?
Yeah.
From the time when I was studying, it's changed a lot.
Yeah, I
We
think
don't use like a Firefox anymore, right? Or we use Firefox to find the element. But normally, I studied with
Firebug basically.
Firebug.
Firebug. We used to do that.
Selenium 4 is released, right? So many different changes.
Selenium 4, it says that it can find an element with proximity. You don't need that. Yeah. I'm going to teach you what you basically need to get anything done. Then if they come up with more easy way, hey, good for you. But I'm going to teach you the hardest thing that you will ever need. So, and Firebug, yeah, I was relying on Firebug. I never taught Firebug in my seasons. That's because I couldn't even download that thing. It doesn't work well. Yeah, and sometimes it will give me absolute expat. Didn't do well. So I'm going to teach you bare bone. Like, you go out there, they're going to think you are a better. You have like 7, 8 years experience. Okay, when you're going to talk about things and do the things. So you try to find some shortcuts. Those are not good. Shortcuts are always bad. Here's a little trick. I don't know if you probably already know. I can right click here. I hate to show you this because you might then cheat. And you can say copy, and you can copy expat. And it will give you expat. You just copied it. And then you could paste it here. If you're short of time and you have to turn in a project, you just right clicked here, copy expat. You don't need all that fancy Firebug. You got an expat right here. But do you see it's a combination of relative right here and then some absolute, where they put the div 2. That div 2 could become div 3 or expert is gonna fail. This is all I knew when I joined the work. And when I took the classes, I did not understand the expat well. Maybe because I skipped out of a few classes, maybe because I didn't practice enough, or maybe because the teacher didn't have enough information. So I was copy pasting this way, and I was creating my expat, and my boss, when he was reviewing my code, he was like, Stein, no bueno, no bueno. Making fun of it in Spanish, but he didn't speak Spanish. It's like those expats are failing. Those are not very good ones. Then he tried to give me some pointers there. I took his little advice and then studied a little bit more online, and then I got it into this level. Okay. So which I'll show you. You guys, as this is like all this information, and you being a senior tester, going into your work and immediately automating test cases, that takes years of experience. You know, that's why they don't want to hire anybody less than 4 years of experience, because they don't want to go through all that training. Okay. That means if you really want to get the job after, let's say, 12 of my sessions, you have to study throughout the week. Now, if you have a job, then you study in the evenings. All right. And you recreate this. You watch the video. You replay. You type. You have to go through the struggle. Okay. If some of you, I see you're nodding and you understand what I'm typing, you understand the logic, but you're going to forget it if you don't go through the struggle of your own. You have to type it. You have to see your typing mistakes. You have to fix that. You have to fix the errors. You have to run it. You have to suffer. Okay. $100,000 is not gonna just rain down from the sky. Yeah. If you suffer through this and get through the whole thing, at the end of the tunnel, there's light. Now, if you are not able to do it this session, you're welcome to come back and do another session. Okay? Some people take more time because of their own situation. That's totally okay. Market is going to be there. Job is going to be there because that's where it's heading. People are going online. Things are going to be more online. Okay? So there'll be testers. That's up to you. But don't blame it on the program or anything that, hey, how am I not able to learn everything? You have to put yourself to it. Take your time. If you don't want to take this course, but you've done all my classes, videos are going to be there. You can take another month, study, go back, create, automate things, practice. We'll have practice stuff for you so you can practice on, okay? When I went into the job, I wasn't good with automation because I was like, I've skipped out a lot of classes, but I took the risk and it paid off. I got a job.
How much did you
With, oh, you're gonna put your hands in their pocket.
My question is like,
I don't mind. Yeah, I'm just playing with it. So they offered me 85,000 base salary and 15% bonus. So 15% bonus with 85,000 comes to like 97,000.
time, later on when we get or do they offer us like 50 or 50 weeks?
If they offer you $50,000 and you offer that, what are you saying?
I mean, they want to give us 50 or
$50 an hour.
50,000.
And if you accept that, you just confirm that you have no experience. If you're saying you have 7 years experience on your resume, 7 years of being an automation engineer, you should have an attitude, right? You should have some level of arrogance, right? That, hey, don't mess with me. I'm above other people. I'm genius or something, you know? So you probably are already making $100,000. You probably will have a big house, good fancy car, okay, good social life. All right. You speak differently, you dress differently,
So
you eat different.
who is going to the junior level? I mean, $50,000-$60,000.
Nowadays, they're probably taking the interns. They go into this uh, universities and pick up interns, and they come in and they do 6 months internship, and then they may get offered the job or not. Okay, so stuff like that, and then they will start with 50,000, 40, 45, 50, 60,000, depending on the company. You don't want to take that. If you take it, you're embarrassing yourself, and they're going to doubt you. No, you are not going to take anything less than 85,000 base salary, then bonus. Okay, you're going to shoot for more. You can negotiate more depending on if they like you that much. You feel it in the interview. So, did that answer your question? Okay. You can do a trade-off. If it's a temporary job, you know you got 6 months contract, then you want more money. If it's a permanent job, then you can kind of like go less money because you have something permanent. Okay. Mine was permanent job. I was like lucky. If you wait enough, you will find a permanent job. But most jobs that are gonna come at you is gonna be 6 months, 12 months, 24 months contract. But more often so, they renew the contract. Now, unless they see that you're not being productive and you maybe did things that you don't know, then you got in trouble. You got 90-day probationary period. They can let you go. Not a bad thing, still. If you get a 90 days job, you got a ton of money in your pocket already. And you got now hands-on experience, your confidence level just amped up. Now you can go for that next interview with level of confidence that you will never have in the classroom, which will only come through actually physically working for somebody. That attitude will only come when you work for somebody. And that will like come out of you, resonate when you sit in front of somebody, and they'll feel it. Okay, that's what's gonna get you that job. So let's say you get a job, you can't do it, you're struggling, you come home and you cry, and then you survive that 90 days, they let you go. But the next job interview is gonna be piece of cake, and you're gonna get that job with like no brainer. Okay, so it's all good. Even bad is good in this field. Moving on.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So use shortcut only when you have a homework and you got a deadline, you got to do this, do it. If you do shortcut, you're not going to learn anything. If you have the time, want to spend the time, do it. Learn proper expat finding and materials. Okay. Now, let me close up the explicit weight right here. And goodness gracious, I have so much information for today's class that I won't be able to cover. I'm gonna clean up this mess. You don't need all of that. You understood that I stored the dashboard element in two different ways here. Agree? I'm not gonna need both of them. But if I need it, I'll use it. You understood how I did the WebDriver weight instantiation? I'm gonna X this out from here. I'm gonna put it here and call it actually is that. Delete all this. I don't even need all this. I just did it to explain it to you. So store an element here, explicit weight, WebDriver weight. We give it a name weight, new WebDriver weight. Pass the driver with 60 seconds of power. This weight guy It's the same as this driver guy.
Inside the parentheses, there is nothing, probably the 60 first, driver second, or driver first is there.
If I put 60 here and driver here, it gave me an error saying, no, we want the driver first. And then how much time you want to give it to him, put it later. Sequence didn't matter. Now, if I call wait, there is a power called until. There are more things you can do. I've never seen anybody do anything else than this. Until. Until is beautiful because it will not always wait that 60 seconds. Whatever it takes. If it comes out in 0.5 seconds, it will wait 0.5 seconds. If it comes out in 10 seconds, it will wait 10 seconds. If it comes out 60 seconds later, it will wait till 60 seconds. If it comes out 61 seconds, it's going to wait. Okay, it's not going to wait 61 seconds. So here, this part is easy. And remember, I said that difference between implicit and explicit wait is explicit wait, you can specify the condition, expected condition, what we expect for you to wait on. Because wait till she shows up in the train station. That's one condition. Wait till she gets into the train. Wait till she gets out of the train. Wait till she buys you the dinner. Okay, those are expected conditions that you can say. So you need expected conditions class. Because it's a class, it's a Pascal case. E capital, C capital, and then you put a dot. And then this class has those extra, all that expected conditions that you want. Typically, most use is called visibility. Notice if I'm typing this, T, there's a lot to choose from. These are invisibility. It can also wait till it's invisible. Visibility of, here's visibility of, notice, what does it take?
1 minute.
It takes web element. Visibility of element located, it takes what? The by. You could use any one of these. If you use visibility of, and then use this one, then you could pass in this name, which is basically passing in all. But if you use visibility of element located by, see that visibility of element located and it takes by, then you could use this page title locator to pass it, and it will apply for that. It will wait for that. You have to specify who to wait for. Okay, who's your friend to wait for? Either you use this to wait for your friend or this. Either one of these to specify. The condition is visibility, that is it visible? I had trouble with this one, with this IDE. I use IntelliJ in my work. No problem with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this one. Visibility of located by. So if I take this, highlight it, and enter, it will bring expected condition, visibility of element located, and then waiting for you to put in who to wait for. Yeah, we already found that same person in two different ways. One is the page title element, The other is page title locator. We're gonna wait for this friend, page title locator. We're gonna take this one, copy, put it in here, and close it with a semicolon.
And when
It gave you
right
option.
click, I can see over there the page title
Yeah.
locator over there. Can I click that one?
What is
And
it?
give you the option of the
option
page
is there.
style.
Like here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just take it
Just
off.
go back and
Like take it off?
and always under visibility dot. Yeah, locator dot.
Oh, you want me to put a dot?
Yeah, visibility dot. Yeah, visibility dot.
I think he's saying from the beginning, you have to remove all this.
All this
visibility
thing.
dot.
Dot.
Visibility off.
Visibility. And then what?
Locator.
Yeah, locator by
Take the off.
locator.
Like type in?
Visibility
No,
off.
no,
Don't go.
Just
Just go.
click
Just go down?
Like
Yes.
before, yeah.
Yeah, select this one off located by
No.
last second. Last
Yes,
second,
this one.
This one.
Yeah.
That's the one I did.
Click on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
then-
saying it will automatically display the name
Yeah.
of that locator.
Yeah. That's a yeah.
Very good.
If it
Locator.
is title locator.
By default, it's showing.
Very
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah,
have it there.
it's giving you a suggestion of how many things that you have. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't always happen though. Not with this one. Not with Eclipse, but some of those paid softwares, they give you exactly like a total list every time. Correct. Yeah. Thanks for pointing this out. Do you see that? So that page title locator that we created a storage for, it automatically picked up on that. Do you want to use that? So if I chose visibility off and that was web element, guess what would be suggested? That one. That one would have been. That's what this IDE is there for. You don't have to memorize everything. It will help you out. So if I click that, enter, it actually brought it for me. Okay.
You can choose either one. You can choose to locate the locator by or the web element.
Yes, with the web element, there were some issues. Didn't work.
Fine.
So you suggest to use the locator.
Wait. We always have to do anything.
Yes. And you have to do this every time. Not once. Implicit wait, you could set it once, forget it. Explicit wait, you have to do every time for a specific element. Every time you have to call this, but not in this page. Do you have to call this again in this page? Nope. You only call this line once, but you can wait for another element. You don't have to instantiate this class twice. You just do it. Later on, I'm going to show you how to make this whole thing, put this in a method and call it wait for page, method name. All you have to do is going to say wait for page, and you pass the element right here. That's it. You never have to mess with this code ever again. But not gonna do that today to scare you. Okay. Are we good so far? This code is going to wait for that element. Okay. And real quickly, I'll throw in a validation in here for you. Okay. Validation can be done with assertion. Session 3. Looks like I'm going to have to cover expat axes as I go along. So won't be able to cover the whole thing. Tomorrow I might cover some. Assertion is one way you can validate. You have seen if and else statement in Java. Yes? you have to wrap some condition to validate. If this could be, and these are all arguments, you have to think in all these arguments and come up with the code. If dashboard is displayed, then pass or fail. Okay, that if statement is actually assertion. Assertion is a class that took if and put it in a method for you. Okay, so how do we do it? Here's one. I'll show you one today, one another day. There's a whole lot of ways to do it. JUnit, this test that you're using, has some its built-in assertion. Hamcrest has some assertions in their options. And for you to look for it, I don't know, sometimes it's like you type in assert dot and then it comes up. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's lowercase assert. Okay.
This is different class.
So I don't use this in my workplace at all. We have our own class created for assertion. But let's see. So I'm going to take assert dot and let's take a look at some options here. Once you do assert dot, there are these assert array. You don't need that. Assert equals. This is where you want to check whether your expected and what you got out of the website, they're equal or not. Okay. In our case, you could say equal. You could pass in. You could do two ways. One, you could say assert true or assert false. Let me do one at a time. It's too much to explain. Let's do assert true. Okay. So narrow it down. You just type a little bit carefully. Assert, and next word is going to be capital. So T, and then see you got narrowed down. And in here, you're going to choose something. I'll tell you which one to choose. You want to go with something that has string message. This message is the failure message. Honestly, we don't care if it passes. If it passes, we want it to move on to the next line. Move on to the next line. But if it fails, we care about that. We want it to stop and report. And that's the report. That's going to go right there. So if I choose any one of these, it's fine. You can go with or.junit.assert. You can pick this one. And notice the first thing is that message. It doesn't say failure message, but it is failure message. If it fails, what is it going to display? And second one is Boolean condition. What kind of condition are you testing? So this has to come out as true or false. Okay. So if I choose this, and my goal is to test that dashboard is displayed or not, okay, whether it's displayed or not. Think of what would you say if it didn't display. And that will go here. What would you say? Dashboard title did not display. If it didn't, for some reason, and we'll fail it, I'll show you how this message comes up. We'll forcefully fail it. And here's the condition. So the condition is going to go in and check for dashboard, whether it's displayed or not. How are we going to do that? You can do, again, everything is done by the driver guy. He's our go-to person. So I could say driver dot find element. Okay. By dot. Didn't we find the XPath of that one? Isn't this a lot to type in here?
Locator.
Isn't this line getting so huge? Can I not take this off, clean this up, and use this instead? And that's one of the reasons why this is so important. You put all this junk, okay, your nail polish remover, your lipstick, whatever you have, in a nice little purse. And I can use this fancy purse. Don't have to dig into all that. Just put it in here. I've got the element so far. WebDriver is waiting for you, saying, what do you want to do to it? What do you want me to do? I found it. You could say, is it displayed? You call the method called is displayed. The driver is going to check whether that page title.
So I can use the element or locator for any of them. Yeah.
You could also use by locator. Yes. If you use the by locator, but let me finish this first. So if you say is displayed, here's the driver. This whole word means driver dot find element dot by dot XPath. Here's the XPath, and then you said is displayed. He's gonna look at that element. If he finds it, he's gonna come back with true. This whole thing in here will become the word true. Assert method is going to, this is another method. This method is going to take this word, whatever that comes up with. If it's a true, he's going to skip over and say, don't worry about it. It's true. We're happy. You're doing a happy dance. But for any reason, if this comes out to be false, and we're choosing as our true here, it's going to fail the test and it's going to display this message. Okay. So this assert true is a method. This method takes two parameters. One is the failure message and a true or false. If this comes out as true, it won't do anything. It comes out as false, it's going to break your test and display this message. Got it? I could do it like you said. Can I do it with the other one? Like this guy? Big style locator? I could. But he's missing what?
Driver.
Driver. What else?
Find element.
Dot. Find elements. So you gotta put this first, and then you gotta do it like this. Driver dot find element, and then in here you can take this fancy name, replace that with that. It does the same thing. Good. Okay. But we like it this guy better because he takes this all that junk away for us. Cleaner. Now let's run it. This time it's gonna pass. It's gonna get a true statement here. Okay. We're gonna drop this down to 5 seconds. Why? Because we don't. If it fails, it's gonna wait 60 seconds. We don't have that much time in class. In real world, 60. Let's run it. Opened up, maximize. Lid cookie, type in insert, and already checked it in here. and gave us this report. So here's the beauty of JUnit report. You got this nice little bar showing you one test ran out of one and it's green, it passed, and here's the test case that it ran. And you could have multiple of these, you could have hundreds of these running with different bars, okay, as we pile up more. Now let's fail it. I can't really fail it, meaning like I can't change the website, can I? I can't. But I can mess it up where it won't actually be successfully logged in. Okay? So I'm going to break it there. That means I'm going to mess up the X path of the, or put in a wrong password. Okay, instead of ABC123, BC123, it's going to hit sign in, but it will never see that dashboard page. It's going to wait 5 seconds, maybe 10, because implicit wait was waiting for 10 seconds, so it could override that. And then it's going to come back in here. This will come out as false, okay? And then this message is going to get displayed. That's at least we're hoping for. Let's see if it works now. So let's run this, F11. And we'll count to see how long it takes, 5 seconds or 10 seconds. After it clicks on the submit button. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know what? I should have put in there. Now it came. So it's 10 seconds. I counted too fast, maybe. So definitely not 5 seconds. So it did 5 seconds for explicit wait for that, and implicit wait took over, said, let me give you 5 more. And then checked it, came back with red. Let's see what the failure is saying here. Obviously 1 out of 1 error. Give me an error. Details of that error is down here. So if I look at this right here, it said,
I should display our message, right? Dashboard.
it didn't. What does it say? No such, let me expand this, no such element, unable to locate element. And what is that element?
Dashboard.
Dashboard. Yeah. So it couldn't find dashboard. Let's understand what happened. What went wrong? We were expecting it to say dashboard title did not display. How come? But it did fail on line number 43. How do I know that? It tells you somewhere here. Okay, maybe JUnit doesn't, but TestND does. Yeah, it didn't.
But if you click over there,
What about trace? There is a way to bring this down in the console. So see this button right here? If you click here, show stack trace in console view, basically it will bring it in the console so you can see it a little bit better, because this font is like really tiny. So now all this is in here. All right. Obviously you want to read the very first line. No such element exception. Unable to locate the element, you need to know which element. Okay, we're going to debug this to find out what went wrong. So we know this relates to the dashboard because you created the element. First line and look at the very last line. That's what I do typically, but these are line numbers. Chances are it failed right here. Can somebody tell me why? It didn't fail here. If it failed here, we would have gotten this display.
Or on sign roughly.
You have to put the element,
Honestly,
the driver find element there so they can fill together because the location there is not find it in this specific text button.
So when we hit sign in and click,
the password was wrong.
Was wrong.
password was wrong.
Yeah.
It dashboard page never showed up. This next line of code was 36. It was trying to do driver.find element and then look for that XPath, and guess what? It didn't find one. It didn't find one that it could store it in here. So driver actually, he drove there looking for it and then find it and store it here. He couldn't find it. He broke right here on line number 36. So take a look at this here. If you kind of follow along, you will see line number 36 is hinted somewhere right there. See that? 36. Okay, if you click on it, notice line number 36 got highlighted and it got failed there. Unfortunately, I can't even bring this here. It's failing this way. What if I don't like it? What if,
Catch, right?
yes.
Exception, you have to hold exception.
Yes. So now comes the big, huge concept of you handling the failure. Well, what happened here? Java failed you. You wanted to fail it here, but Java failed you here. Java couldn't find it, Selenium could not find it, failed it. What if you take control from them and you decide when to fail it? Only way to do that is try catch. Okay?
So when they are able to click on line number 33, should I go further, the web element number 36?
Because we are going to handle that exception.
Just like I showed you this logic of checking this, you found why it failed, right? This is giving you a hint that it's no such element for this element. Yes, that's your level 1 hint of coming right here. Because where is that instantiated first? Where did that appear on your code first? Line number 36. So it must have failed there. Still not sure, you dig down deeper into this and it will tell you which line number. This is the test case that you ran. User should be able to add contact and it gave you a link to that line number where it failed. And you click on it and it got highlighted there. So you don't need to go any farther down here to debug. You know something wrong right there. Okay? Just swallow it for now. And I need to handle this guy, okay? So I need to take this and put it in a try catch. Okay? Okay. So how do we do that? Anybody remembers the code? We write try, open, close, curly braces, open, and we want to try this, don't we?
Then after that,
Then I have to put the closing curly braces, other slice of the bread after it. And this is the meat of it. Okay? So we try that. What are we going to catch?
if condition.
No if condition.
No, catch exception.
We're going to catch whatever Java is going to fail it on. Okay? This would go inside these kinds of brackets. This is from AP's class. So in this catch, here's what you're going to catch. No such element exception. This is what failed it. We're going to catch it and not let it fail it anymore for that reason. Makes sense? So if I put in here this whole thing, no such element exception and it wants a variable of some type. Just put in like E. Okay. And now you have open close. This is where you type in. If you hover over, you may have to import, and I can't remember one of these. It's probably Selenium. Okay. Because Selenium failed it, just go ahead and choose that. Let's see if that works. If not, then we're going to choose the Java util. So no such element exception. So now you caught it. You stopped it from failing. It's asking you if you want to do something. You can if you want to or not. Okay? But here's the thing. If we don't do something here, it's going to fail it again here. Okay? Why? Because it's going to try to find the element and it's going to break. Okay? It's going to try to go, driver is going to go again, try to find it, and it's going to still break it for no such element right here. What if we didn't even test that in here at all? We already checked whether the element is there. We could create a Boolean right here, couldn't we? And we could say page title display status. Give it a name. Okay. When the code tried this and it didn't find it, it's going to come right here. If it found it, it's going to skip this line. Okay? So if it found it, it's going to skip it. But if it didn't find it, it's going to come down here. In that case, don't we already know that it wasn't found? What status should we put in here? It didn't find it.
Yeah, but then we need to put it true to
false.
Yeah, okay.
Because at this point it's false. Page display status is false. It wants to fail it. We stopped the failure, but we created a container where we put this value in here. But what if it found it? If it found it, we want to call the status as true. But it's every one of these is tiny little section. If I create this again here, it's creating individual local variables. You don't want that. You want one variable of page title display for all of these cases. Therefore, you don't want to declare it here. You want to declare it before. And you want to do it here. Okay? You didn't add any value to it. Here, you don't have to declare it anymore because you already gave it a type. So that got highlighted. That's the container. What do you want to store in the container? Comes based on your situation. If this was a good to go, then page title display status, we want to set it as true. But if Java threw an exception saying, well, I couldn't find it, then that status I want it to be false. Okay. If you don't like this word, you can change it to is page title displayed. Okay. If it's here and it didn't fail, it will set it as true. If it failed, it will set it as false. Now, I could just go to my assert and put in here, who can tell me what?
No, the is page title displayed.
Yes. If you say false, you're hard coding it. You want to say whatever this comes up with. Okay. So if I just take that, put it in here. If I say false, it's going to be always false and break, even when the page is displayed. So now, let's see. It's still going to fail. Is it going to give me this message? And then we're going to debug it and show you better. Gonna wait 10 seconds. And we're gonna get a report after 10 seconds. It took more than 10?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, now let's bring this information into the console so we can see better. We got timeout exception. Darn it, we couldn't fail it for that either. Okay.
Actually, we are not using wait here, right? Explicit wait. Even if you will comment.
Yeah, I'll comment to that. Yeah.
Because
But my whole runaround is I show these exceptions because they're gonna ask you in the interview.
Yeah, but even we are not using it till now. In this code, we are not using the explicit wait.
We are.
We wrote the code, but practically we are not going.
You're right
through
here.
That. Yeah, we wrote the code, but we are not going through the. Even if you will comment it right now, the situation will be the same.
No, it will pass. It will fail, but it will give me this reason. Bear with me.
Okay.
Yeah. I dramatize this because I want to show you guys all these exceptions along the way. So it's still got failed. This time it's telling me timeout exception. Timeout exceptions only shows if there is a WebDriver wait. Explicit wait generates the exception called timeout exception. Later on, I'll give you a piece of notes with all the exceptions because interviewer is going to ask you, so you've been coding for so long. What are some exceptions that you have noticed in your code or in your test case? And you have to name all of them because you're going to see these exceptions so many times each time you create a test case. And you have
That's going to be different. Java exception.
There are some Java exceptions, there are some Selenium exceptions, and they're going to be different. Some of them.
Are we gonna do code that like this, like run it every step, or we do it once and then run it?
No, run it as you go along.
Then obviously it tells on the when entering the password, we should have the error there. Like I know we are
Right.
checking, so how
Right.
would we know where it tells first?
Because just like I didn't I run the test every time I wrote 1 or 2 lines of code? I did not wait till I got to this far and then run the code. That's going to be so difficult to find debug. That's the trick.
So if the password is wrong, we do need to do try and catch too for every.
No.
Intentionally, here we are doing intentionally.
No. Only if you want to. You don't even have to. And my boss doesn't even like try catch. Okay. He wants this failure. He wants not the timeout even. He wants no such element. But I tell him that see these reports are generated and we post it on the web. And developers can go in and open it up and see why it failed. How many developers understand what this is? They don't. Okay, this is a messy failure report. What I'm trying to teach you here is you can take this mess and display it like this. Dashboard title does not. Someone who has zero idea of what the code is will be able to read this, read your report. A manual tester working under you can read this report and let me go and manually test it. Did really dashboard didn't display? He's gonna check, dashboard didn't display. Yeah, it's a valid failure. Let me create a bug report. Okay? You don't have to do all that. You're the automation guy. You just write the code and walk away, drink some coffee. Okay? They do the hard work for you. So my boss doesn't like this, me taking control over Java or Selenium and not let them fail, and me displaying my own message. He doesn't, because he's like, well, this gives you more information. You can go in here and find all of it. I'm like, well, but they don't get it. So he still likes this better. He's like, if you put in more code in there, more is gonna get messy. Who cares if they don't get it? We get it. They can ask us why it failed. We'll tell them.
So if it is really failed in this, so the case is failed and you'll stop in this that part.
So
Okay,
honestly, you know
further.
that I fake failed it
Yeah.
by putting fake password. But let's say I put real password and that page never showed up. This is how it's gonna fail. And you're gonna run it and you're gonna see it and you're gonna see if you're satisfied with this failure. If not, then you take it farther. If you don't put this try catch boolean and stuff and it failed for no such element, that's a beautiful failure. You leave it at that. My boss will be very happy. Okay, he's gonna say, just do it. That's fine, enough. No such element means dashboard didn't show up, page didn't show up, a manual tester, go in up there and check really did the dashboard didn't show up. If it didn't, file with the developers, tell them. And it happens. In my workplace, different pages don't show up because they changed some codes and they messed up something on the site. They're gonna ask you, how many bugs have you seen? You're gonna say hundreds. And they're gonna ask you, can you name me some? I will give you all along the road. You just copy me, tell them what you saw. So page did not display. That's a real bug. Page sometimes will not display at all. Okay. So, but I'm going to show you this try catch, and we're going to end the class. That's all there is to it. There's nothing more. Okay. If you want to be so fancy and super freaking controlling with your code, this is what you can do. So now, watch this. If I still have this, right? Have this variable. Timeout exception, it got failed right here. It tried to find it here, and it got failed. So if I block this out, hypothetically, let's say I didn't have that, and I let it run, don't even need that. It's gonna go up here, do all that. And it's gonna come here and it's gonna give me false. And then it's gonna give me this message out. So let's run this, hopefully. Crossing fingers, or maybe you're right.
That's what my question is.
But I've done this before. I've done this before, it worked. In some cases, I do use strike it in some parts, not always.
Because I saw your old videos, so.
Let's see. Well, let's see. Did retyping? What's going on? Maybe I have too many windows. Let me close this out. Okay, here, close that, and let's cut down on time. 3 seconds. Implicit wait 3 seconds. And we don't have any explicit wait. Let's run it again. It already clicked. A couple of seconds later, came back as failing. Let's move
Yeah, it
this.
came. Dashboard. It's true.
Yeah,
Dashboard error did not.
So now, do I have that message?
Yeah.
So there's a way that you can hide all this, and on that failure, you can display just that much. So for a manual tester who doesn't have any coding experience, we'll be able to click on each of the test cases. They know your test cases. They just don't know this code. They know that you have a test case called user should be able to add contact. And they will see this red bar. And they can click on that red bar, and this message is going to display to them. Dashboard title did not display. Then they will go manually test it. If it's a valid bug, they can file a bug report. What you would do is, if they file a bug report, you disable this test. You don't need to test it anymore. Because you know, until it's fixed, it will keep on failing.
But
You
it
just
should
take it off.
show pass and it should close the browser because we are handling the exception.
Like if it fails,
Yeah.
it's not going to close the browser unless you ask it to close the browser, which I disabled it
Yeah.
here.
Oh, you disabled it.
Yeah, but if I disable, turn it on. Those are easy stuff. You make it fancy. I'll just show you the logic, technical stuff. So here's the maximum control that you can have by doing it. Okay. Questions? It was a lot.
Yeah, so how we are using the explicit weight as like the visibility of element located.
In this linear, if I use the explicit weight, this try-catch will not work because it gets failed before the try-catch can be handled. But when I'm going to give you a different framework where the try-catch is going to be applied to a different class and you call it from there, then it works. But I needed to show you this right now. How many exceptions did you learn today?
No,
Name me.
no such element exception.
No such element exception. What else? Timeout exception. And? No more? There wasn't another one.
No, we face these.
Okay, and you learned assertion error. What's the difference between no such element exception and timeout exception?
So when the element will not be found.
When the element is not found,
No such
you
element
get
exception.
no such element exception. Interview questions must. And when do you get timeout exception? Just say it in your own words. You don't have to be fancy. Your fancy is worse because that's like, oh, you memorized it. But if you make it up like real world, like what you saw and you try to verbalize it, that's the best answer. Then they know that you're telling from your experience. Timeout exception. When do you get timeout exception?
So basically it will wait for that time and
Because it didn't show up on time. So
Element.
find that element and actually show.
Correct, but I'm still looking for a keyword. Staring at you. It's somewhere here. We got timeout exception when we had this
Wait
on.
explicit wait.
Correct? When this was turned on, explicit
Explicit
wait. If you get a timeout exception, it tells you that the element failed at the explicit wait. It waited. It waited for that amount of time. And it actually tells you that too, which you probably saw before. Let me disable this. I may have to disable. Oh, that was a locator that I did. There you go. Okay, it's going to be timeout exception now. Run it again. And it's going to say waited for 5 seconds. Is it okay if I take a little longer time? Okay. Okay, maybe like end at 1:15? Okay. All right, where's the, it got failed. So here's the failure message. Here's timeout. Let's see what it says. Expected condition failed. Didn't we put expected conditions? Remember? Visibility what? Waiting for, and we chose the visibility of our element located. So now it's telling us visibility of element located by, here's the by. Okay? And we put in some time. Initially we put in 60 seconds, but we changed it to 5 seconds right here.
But isn't that enough to know it's not there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's just like a lot.
That's right. Correct.
Because it is not displayed like yet, so it means it's not there.
Yeah.
But what if our computer is like, what if the system is slow, like it's not gonna be there in specific time, or it's still a failure, right?
It's gonna fail. And now unless you change this one,
To something.
increase it, and it shows up in 30 seconds, yeah, it's gonna pass. Okay. So you understand explicit wait better, maybe? A little bit better? You understand the difference between implicit wait and explicit wait? What is set at the beginning of the test case? Which wait is set? Implicit wait. How many times do you have to set the implicit wait?
One.
One time.
One time. How many times do you have to set explicit wait?
As many as you can.
That depends on condition.
You're gonna say each time. The answer is each time you want a wait for a certain element. How many expected conditions are there? We don't know. There's a lot. There's many. How many do you use? You're gonna say, well, I probably use handful of them. Okay. If they ask you, which one is the most popular one that you use? What are you gonna say? Not the expected condition is displayed as selenium. What is the expected conditions in the explicit wait? Expected conditions. Visibility of element located, that's your number one. And honestly, that's what everybody uses. Okay. Hardly you will find anybody use some of these.
What is the difference between presence of element located or visibility of element?
Good question. Sometimes what happens is in the database, there's front end. In web applications, there's a front end and a back end. This is front end, what you see in the front. And there's a back end in their computer, in their server. When you type in your username, take files, whatever, and you type in your password, guess what happens? And you hit submit, there's an API that takes that data and runs to the server. Goes into their database, looks for it, tries to match. There's logic code over there that you don't see. It's going to check to see if username and password match. Do they exist? Do they match? Yes, they get a Boolean response. That response comes back in here. If that response is true, it will let you in. If it's false, it's not. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes this API connection from this front end to the back end has not made it yet. You just came to this website. You are able to see this sign in button, but you click on it, nothing happens because that API is still sleeping. That guy who's gonna take this sign in slip from you and then run to the server and then ask that guy, hey, he's still like, I didn't have my morning coffee yet. So if you say is displayed, the sign in is going to come out as true. But if you choose the condition is clickable, is enabled is when it's like grayed out. If you say is enabled, it's going to come out as false if it's grayed out. But sometimes it's still there. I'm clicking on it. I mean, clicks. But it doesn't go anywhere and get anything, information. That's when you use is clickable. Okay? Other times, is clickable still doesn't work. What are you going to do? You put in thread click. Bad, but no choice. I have had situations where I say is clickable and click on it. It clicked, but it never opened that page or never created that add contact. And my test case was failing. I didn't know what to do. But whenever I put in like 3, 4, 5 extra seconds there, then somehow that API wakes up within that time. But that's a bad practice. Then I was like, okay, what can I do to change that? I created a method, a loop, which you will also see in here. You've done it with AP. I was looping that click.
Wow.
Yeah. So in that for loop, I was like, put that driver.click in a for loop. And I said, click on it. If this shows up, fine, break it. Move on. If not, wait 1 more second. Instead of putting 5 seconds there, I put in 60, but it will never stay 60 because that for loop will rotate 1 second each time. If it is there within 3 seconds, fine. I put 60 as the max. It will wait till that 60. Didn't I create an explicit wait in a way? That explicit wait, whoever wrote that class, they have that for loop in there, basically. It's that simple. It's doing that same thing. It's looping around and checking, looping around and checking. But you can create that explicit wait method yourself with the for loop or any other loop, and then keep checking. That way you don't hard code that time. If you can explain this to your interviewer, you got the job. Okay, you got the job. So, questions? So you learned XPath, explicit wait, implicit wait. You saw how try catch is done. You've seen different exceptions. You learned web element. You learned by locator. Okay? You're going to go home, and if you have some time, what I'll do is this website right here. I'm going to paste this code. So if you go to session 3, today's session, I'm going to come down here. Just go all the way down. And in this section here, I'm going to paste this code that I just typed. I'm just going to give you from here to not the very last curly brace, but this one. So you are going to go in here, copy this code, Control C. Don't paste it. You paste it in a WordPad first. Why? Because there are some weird characters in here, even spaces, that if you paste it in Eclipse, it will give you weird error. Best thing would be you open up a class, you type in this yourself line by line. If you do that, you will have no errors. And you have an error, let's say you got an error here, okay? You resolve that error on the spot and you're gonna learn from it. That will be your best learning, okay? And then you just look at it. You open that site, you're like, oh, this is the second line. Let me type that, see how that works. Let me run it out, right? No homework, but just do that. If you got that all set up, just play it around with it, you're ready for tomorrow's class. And then I'll give you a homework for the whole week for you to work on, and then submit next week, okay? Online folks, any questions?
Maybe.
Just reading.
Where did it go?
Fine.
Fine?
Fine. I
Yes.
have a quick request.
Yes.
Would you be able to share your email, like just in case if we need to contact?
They recommended me not to.
Okay.
I asked them that maybe I do a Wednesday evening or Thursday evening to debug your homework codes.
Mm-hmm.
They think they're paying me too much, so they may be hiring somebody who they can pay less to debug your code. I'll touch
Okay.
base with Enrico again and see what they can do for you as far as
Okay.
homework checking goes. And if I can finish my class early, then I will spend 30 minutes or so after class to check your code and see why it failed. Okay, but
Okay. Okay.
my request, don't write too much code and check later. Line by line and run it. For now, you should run every time you write a line. Okay? Later, when you get really good at it, you could do 3-4 lines and then run it. All right? Any other questions?
Good thing.
All right, thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. This video will be uploaded. It might take 48 hours, so don't expect it soon enough. I will compressing this takes 4 hours. And then I'll upload it, then AP will put it on the website for you. But notes will be provided on session 3, so check that. See you tomorrow.